Yo, what's up, people? Give me 1 second. Replay crew, hang in there. All right. Let's go. Let's go. What is up, beautiful people? Get myself on the screen in 1 moment. Yeah. Yo. What that poofy hair? Yeah, I'm growing my hair back out. Oh, it's gonna be a good summer. I'm locked in. The transformation begins. Anyway, let's see. Chat. What's up, Cam, JP, Jeffries, Jody? Shout out to you. I'll see you on the replay. Beto, how's it going? Oh man. Captain's Critters in the chat. What's up, Captain? Cheryl, hey Cheryl, how is it going? What do you mean that you know that I'm slow, Cheryl? This is absolutely the disrespect. I can't stand. Well, I already have. I've stood for it. Shout out. Yo, I've got to start by saying Replay Crew has been going nuts. Some older streams. I've really been, people have been watching some older streams, and I mean, they don't really comment or engage too much. That's fine. You know, I appreciate you guys for what you do, but we're collecting a decent amount of people that watch these streams after the fact. So if you're the Replay Crew and you appreciate the replays and the fact that we try to have streams that are rewatchable, please let us know that the effort is worth it. Because not only in my opinion effort for the replay, but I know from experience that people love being able to see that chat in the replay and see what people said during the stream, because once I forgot to put that on the screen and people were like, yo, where'd the chat go? So shout out Replay Crew. Speaking of which, Captain said make sure you're on live chat. Yep, I got it set to live chat for sure. Great to have Cap. Oh, we got Just One More Fish LLC Jesse in the chat. What's up, Jesse? Speaking of which, yo, Jesse donated some gift cards to ASCM's auction. So really appreciate you for that. Shout out to Jesse for that. We'll get to the topics in like 10 minutes if you're on the replay. I'm just catching up with everyone. What have you guys been watching since I last streamed? What's going on? I think I'm going to start jumping into the Discord if I have the energy near the end of the stream. And then like any videos that I've reacted to, we can discuss them because I think it's kind of fun. Camden said yes, nobody else has live chat on the stream. People love it, man. I'm telling you, they love it. But don't worry, we're starting trends. Okay, we're trendsetters. I'm noticing a lot more trivia stuff being done out there. Streams and clubs. Come on, we're part of the new wave. Rise up. JP said Pelham, of course. Wait, Pelham, of course. What? Oh, that's what you've been watching. Okay. Very cool. I emailed Jeff the other day. I was like, you want to come on the stream sometime? We'll see if we get a response. Fishcapades, what's up? I see the happiness convinced. It has. Maven said, I've been watching myself. Nothing like a charming, talented beauty to watch. Okay, Maven. Per. Yes, I clocked it. Okay, let's see what we can get into today. What other updates do I have just in general? Well, I'm beginning to make an air loop in the fish room, so hopefully in the next few days that will be done. Anything else? Just the usual. I'm basically, the big thing coming up is I might talk at the club DCAS. I might talk on the 13th, so I'm getting ready for that. And then the club that I'm a part of, the Aquarium Society of Central Maryland, we're having our first auction on the 19th, and that is taking a lot of my efforts because I'm trying to get, you know, some stuff donated for it. And then I'm personally putting in a lot of fish in this auction. So I'm definitely going to have 40. I'll probably have 40 lots in this auction by the time we're done. But as you can see, it's starting to look like a pretty stacked auction. We're only up to 80 lots so far. But I'm putting in terrestrial isopods. I'm putting in crayfish. I got killifish. I got Daniels. I got rainbow fish. It's going to be a good time. But let's see. I see. That would be great. First and second hardest on one stream. Pause. Oh, hey. I've been watching anthropology documentaries and archives of Vertane tribes. Okay, very cool. Captain said, I'm outside with the cat and dog. Tending to the ponds above me, 2 male hummingbirds are battling each other. Wow. We got an epic duel commencing above Captain's critters. That's pretty cool. I guess one update, this has become one of my go-to backgrounds for the stream. Anyone who really pays attention to the stream backgrounds, let me know what tanks you like watching the most. I'm starting to work on more, so more of them were photogenic enough. This one's just been fun since we have the Episto with their babies in here and the Pandacories. I did take out the male Episto though, because the other day he was like, he wouldn't leave her alone and he was chasing her away from the cave. I was like, look, man, she's been a great mom. I can't have you messing this up. So I absolutely kicked him. I kicked him out. Cheryl said, it's amazing how territorial hummingbirds can be. You just reminded me to pull the feeders out soon. Okay. But I said, I like the goofy antics of the newts. Captain said we like the newts. The problem with the newts is they're just not out all the time when I'm streaming. If they're out, like one is out right now. I can put the camera on the newts. 1 second. I have been working on the newt tank, so it's less disgusting looking too, because I had like some cyanobacteria and stuff going on. I've been working on it. But there's one newt. But I also, since I added more plants, it's harder to see them. Now, I put coal red shrimp in this tank, and famously the newts, they've displayed almost zero hunting ability. Yeah, the newts have grown a little bit. They definitely haven't grown that much. Like, they were already pretty big when I got them. But yeah, some of them have grown. Now you'll see the newts, they're very bad at eating the shrimp. There's quite a population of ugly shrimp in there. In fact, I kind of wish that I had put prettier shrimp in there, because the population is booming now. You can't really see it, but there's a lot of little shrimp everywhere. A lot of them are kind of clear. Another option for backgrounds, since I have the 2 5-gallons here, is I could do like a wider, just like you can see more than one at once. But yeah, as you can see, the newt, not the most visible, but it is what it is. Bribe the newts with Bitcoin. What the hell? I'm not sure I follow, Captain. The newts like Bitcoin. So today I'm trying to did you see the Newt on Fish for Thoughts video? It was over 30 years old. No, I did not. Now I need no. Yo, you're not. JP said, now I know where to go if I ever need Eye of Newt for something. Hell no. Beto says, what species do you have? Supposedly these are the Japanese blue tail newts, firebelly newts. It's like Cyrus Cylops or something like that. It's a Latin name. Don't quote me on that. Please don't. If you quote me on that, I could be sued. Or something. Okay, so yeah, today's topic, and again, I just feel extra grateful today. Shout out to the replay crew. Holy. But, you know, the live people, we got the party going on in here. Today's topic is nitrates and fish health. This is one of those topics that, people talk about this all the time. So I thought that I'd already done a stream on it, and I was just, doing my usual reading that I do on my own time. And I really didn't realize we hadn't done a stream reading anything about nitrates and fish health. And I'll say that, like many things, it's one of those topics people argue about because it involves how much work they're going to have to do. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, nitrates are harmful for my fish. I might have to care about water changes more. It's one of those, like, I'd rather not know situations, I think, for some people. Then there's, okay, maybe nitrates are bad, but it's only at the highest concentrations. What? I did a little bit of advanced reading tonight, just a little bit, because the last three papers we read last stream, I felt like two of them were weak, so I was like, let me read some of these ahead of time. Check, I have too many plants. Whenever I test, I can never get nitrates. Very nice. 186, so let's go. What's up, 186? Yeah, but I will say, from what I can tell, obviously, yes, high nitrates seems to be bad for reasons we'll hopefully discover. But it seems like baby fish have it the worst. Like, fish fry and stuff seem to really suffer from high levels of nitrates in the water. So, someone that one of the main parts of the hobby I get enjoyment out of is breeding fish. Obviously, that was pretty relevant to me. I was like, oh shit, okay. Well, we're gonna have to watch that. So, do we want to start with fish fry or do we want to start with betta fish? What do you guys think? The first paper can involve either of those. It's up to you. But we got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. Here, let me read the titles. Let me read the titles and then we'll decide, okay? I have the behavioral effects of nitrate on Siamese fighting fish, female mate preferences and anxiety. And then I have, let me pick. No, that one's, I need to warm up before I get into that one. I could already tell some of them are going to require a lot of reading. And I have the toxicant default guideline values for aquatic ecosystem protection. Holy. Either of those get you excited. Cotton said, you got my case for wanting to make easy quizzes, yet this is the second stream that you're pulling out the no-brainer academic papers. Listen. You call them no-brainer, but people still argue the no-brainer stuff. Okay, let's be honest. There are plenty of topics that people are going to argue until the end of time, no matter how obvious they are. But also some things, it's like, look, it could be true that it's harmful, but maybe the question is how harmful, that's relevant. At what point? I think that some of the stuff, like how much ammonia do plants remove in a new tank? Things like that, it's good to get into the details of a slightly more obvious thing. What's up, pond puppies? How's it going? How is it going? Okay. JK, don't show that. Show the betta I saw at Petco. Oh, you saw a bad betta at Petco? Oh, man. JBC, let's go. Great topic. Okay, here we go. I'm picking the topic. Let's do the betta fish one first. I need to warm up. And it's not that long. So, this is a college paper. This is the University of Maine. Okay. Behavioral effects of nitrate on Siamese fighting fish, betta splendens, female mate preference, and anxiety. Shows that I'm pulling plants from a lot of my other tanks to reset this 40 breeders. It has a lot of shrimp still, but I'm adding green dragons from MNC and aquarium species. Wish me luck. Good luck. Captain said concussion statement. It turns out ammonia is more harmful than nitrates. Yeah. Should we have paper predictions? At any point during me reading, just predict what the conclusion is going to be. What I like about these is we start to discuss how useful the papers are, and then we get a better idea of what to pay attention to. Because I think because sometimes people like myself who aren't that educated, you can read a paper and draw incorrect conclusions, or you could read a paper and think that it proves something when the paper says it doesn't prove anything, or you could fall into that trap of being that person where you walk around and say, well, this paper says this, so that means that I can tell you you're wrong about this. If we kind of all work through it together, I feel like it helps us arrive at a more useful conclusion. We can ascend. Cheryl said she's going to either put Duplicaris or Skunk. They've grown out enough. I need to separate them before they start spawning. Oh, you want to stop the fun. Okay, so this is the University of Maine. It's an honors thesis by Courtney Stow. Okay, for a degree with honors of marine sciences. And let's get into it. I'm going to go through the abstract. You guys locked in? Let's do it. In aquatic ecosystems, nitrate pollution due to anthropogenic activities has led to an increase in nitrate in water runoff and water resources. Nitrate is an essential component in the environment, especially for plant nutrients, but excess amounts can create water quality problems, which can lead to serious consequences in humans and aquatic organisms. The effect of nitrate on organismal behavior is not well studied. The objective of the study was to examine how 96 hours of exposure to nitrate treatments 0, 10, and 100 parts per million modified female beta splendens behavior, particularly mate preference for male color and anxiety behavior. We used a dichotomous preference test to measure mate choice and a scototaxis test to measure anxiety-like behaviors. All right. This is a smaller sample size, so I'm gonna go through this one quickly. We're just gonna warm up, okay? Let's get straight to the methods. Okay. They followed the procedural protocols from a previous study with betas. Lab procedures and housing was approved by the University of Maine's IACUC. Captain says it's not well studied. I'm deceased. Captain's going to be the ultimate hater. I love this. Okay. Beta splendens were collected from a commercial supplier, Seagrass Farms. Wow, we're off to a great start. Though some of the males were purchased from a local fish supply store in Orono, Maine, all females were red, while the shipment of males consisted of uniform red and blue colors. Every fish was fed 2 to 3 pellets of Hikari vibrobites daily with 1 day of fasting. During feeding, a behavioral assessment of each fish was done to check if they were eating properly and to assess overall health. If sick, the fish were relocated where they could be monitored and excluded from behavioral testing and dosing. Bettas were individually housed in 1.4 liter tanks that remained at room temperature. 1.4 liters is 0.3 gallons. Holy. All males were separated by white opaque partitions to prevent male-on-male interactions as social isolation and males increased social displays. All females had visual exposure to other females to prevent any negative effects caused by social interaction, as it's been shown that female-female interactions in audiences modify female behaviors in various social contexts. Water changes were completed twice a week to ensure water quality was maintained. They used RO water that was remineralized with commercial salt and mineral mix. Okay, and here we see the setup. I love when there's actually pictures of the setup. So we have a red betta in here. Nitrates are something like flat earth theory. A lot of people don't get it anyway, said Dijon. Which part about that do you mean? And by the way, we're warming up with this beta paper, but there's some really interesting ones, I think, later on. Maven's back in an hour. Okay, I'll see you in an hour. What do you mean, though, by that? Like, as in most people don't get the flat earth theory and that the earth is flat? Because you said nitrates or something like flat earth theory. A lot of people don't get it anyway. Like, I don't know. Maybe the earth is flat. Jose said, hello, everyone still at work, lurking to finish computer work, shift over, but still working. Come on, don't work when your shift's over. Come on, man. We got to get that over time. Jose said, blanket hello to everyone but Nick. Excuse you. This is absolutely outrageous. Okay, you know what? I mean, the tanks, the amount of water does sound small, but for some reason, it looks a lot better than it sounds. Like 0.3 gallons looks a lot better than it sounds in this dimension. So yeah, this seems fine. One fish. Shit. I mean, they're shipped in a lot less water than that for multiple days. Okay. Let me double check. I'm not dropping too many frames. Okay, we're good. So we have the beta system here, and this is the partitions, which is kind of interesting. The partitions, they just got this white corrugated plastic here. Funk was wondering if a fish's health is affected by obesity like humans. Yes. Okay, 1.4 liter tanks. Yep. So males can't see each other. So these are the males down here. And then the females can see each other. Jacob said, yeah, it was funny. I was dying when he asked that. Did you guys, what did you guys think of that stream? Nitrates are not important for 95% of fish before going very high, like 80 to 100. 1 ppm is usually not even a problem. Problem is when they see nitrates at 60 and then fish die, but they don't check. Yeah. And like, I think as we get into some of the stuff later on with that, what I found the most interesting was just adult fish. Yeah, you got to get pretty high for it to make a difference. But it seems like with baby fish, survivability decreases a lot with a decent amount of nitrates being present. So for me, since I breed a lot of fish, I was like, oh shit, okay, that's kind of relevant to me if that's something that they're more sensitive to when they're younger. He said no one, other things like hormones, toxic things, almost nobody checks for oxygen, how important pH is. That's true. That's very true. Tirjan said, yes, small fish are very problematic with everything, and for example, rays. Ooh, okay, that's a good point. Well, the small fish thing is a good point. The rays I'm not familiar with, so I'm intrigued. Okay, so nitrate exposure, here's how they did it. So the nitrate treatment females were exposed to a control amount of 0 parts per million, and then 10 parts per million and 100 parts per million. To create the nitrate treatments for female bettas, a mixture of sodium nitrate and water was prepared. To make the desired nitrate concentrations of 10 parts per million and 100 parts per million, calculations based on the molecular compound were completed. Moreover, 15.5 NaNO3 was dissolved in 11.36 liters of pure water to create the 100 parts per million solution, while 1.5 grams of NaNO3 was dissolved in 11.36 liters of pure water to create the 10 parts per million treatment. Okay, Jose said he's finally saying hello to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, finally. These concentrations were chosen, and I'm going to say, Derjan, I'm just going to say DJ for you, just for my, because I'm having a horrible time reading. You know what? Actually, I take that back. I got to improve. Okay. Just type in the chat how I'm saying your name correctly, phonetically, because I'm terrible at reading. But hello to you as well. These concentrations were chosen because 10 parts per million is currently the highest concentration of nitrate allowed in U.S. drinking water. The 100 parts per million concentration is the ecologically relevant dosage. Darian? Okay, I can do that. Darian? Yep. I'm going with that. The 100 part per million concentration is the ecologically relevant dosage, so fish could encounter this elevated nitrate concentration in the environment. The goal was not to find LC50, but rather expose the fish to ecologically high yet relevant contaminant concentrations. Captain Curtis says, in a tank situation, you will have dangerous amounts of ammonia before nitrates start to become an issue. I don't know if that's 100% true, because some people dose with fertilizers and some people dose quite often with fertilizers, and I believe many of those have nitrate in them, so it could be relevant for those situations. But I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't think I've ever measured super high nitrates on any established tanks I have, but I can't say I check that very often. Okay, female exposure lasted 96 hours in the nitrate treatments. As other studies have previously shown, similar durations of nitrate exposure led to behavior alterations. In the 96-hour exposure period, the Scotaxis and mate preference tanks the fish would be tested in were filled with nitrate-free water. Captain's crew said, "Touche, I wasn't thinking about people overdosing plant tanks with fertilizer." I mean, especially if you look at the instructions for some of the fertilizer, it's like they recommend way more than you possibly need. So it could be relevant to more people than you think. Okay, here's the mate preference test. A dichotomous preference test was used to assess female preference for red versus blue males. I'm kind of curious why they decided this was the test for nitrates, was red versus blue, but whatever. During the test, female association time was recorded to determine which male color the female spent the most time with. Studies have shown association time to be a useful proxy for determining mating patterns in fish. Okay. Let's see. During the mate preference test, males, one blue and one red of similar body size, were paired to limit the influence of outside variables on female mate preference. This was due to the fact that female bettas have a preference for larger males. Using a net, fish were gently held against the side of their holding tank to measure length, mouth to tip of the caudal fin. Okay, so they checked the sizes. The preference tests were conducted in a 75.7 liter tank divided into 5 equal sections. The outermost sections were separated from the middle section using clear plexiglass dividers to allow fish to see each other without physically being able to interact. All 3 compartments were filled with room temperature RO water, and a lamp was placed directly over the center of the tank. For each test, a 3x3 square corrugated opaque plastic tube was placed in the neutral zone where a female was gently netted into the tube for a 10-minute acclimation period. A single male was placed in each of the outermost compartments, and the placement of the red and blue male was randomized during each trial. Once the focal female was removed from the acclimation tube, she could choose between the 2 simultaneously presented red and blue males. Association time was recorded for 10 minutes. The amount of time the female spent in each section was recorded using a mobile stopwatch. Oh man, we got the iPhone stopwatch. Okay. After a 10-minute observation, the female was placed back to the acclimation tube, and the placement of the males was switched, thus limiting any female bias may have had towards one side of the tank. Darion said, "Planted tank fertilizers are a totally other story than cichlid tanks. I'm really interested why they put N and P in almost all fertilizers." That's a great question. Okay. So here we have a diagram of what's going on here. So we have the female where they're initially in a center zone with each of the males cordoned off into their section. Then they reveal the males. We see which one she spends the most time with. And then they switch positions to see if she just likes one side of the tank or more. Okay, the other test was to assess the female beta anxiety. This test was done in a 37.9 liter aquarium divided into 2 equal halves immediately following the mate preference test. The interior of the tank was covered in non-reflective black and white felt to create one dark section and one light section. Okay. Put them in there. They recorded the amount of time they spent in the dark and light section. Okay. So here in the tube, light and dark section of the tank. And then they're seeing which side. So I assume if they spend more time in the dark section, they feel like the fish is more anxious. So they want to go hide out. Let's see. Let's look at the results. This is not, I'll be honest. I mean, it's a college test. I like reading even the ones that are kind of like, okay, what was the point of this? Just because it's fun seeing how people try and do different experiments and what the flaws are, because maybe one day one of us will want to do our own experiments. So it's good to see what people do in general. But here's the results. They found there was no significant difference between the 3 nitrate treatments because the amount of time females spent with red and blue males were similar. So no difference between red and blue males. Control females with no nitrate spent slightly more time associated with red males than blue males. There was a slight but insignificant loss of female preference for red males as nitrate concentration increased from 0 to 100 parts per million. So yeah, there's not really much difference on here. Let's look at the anxiety test then. Okay, females exposed to 10 parts per million nitrate spent significantly more time in the dark section compared to the control females. Control females did not have a discernible preference for light or dark section. Females exposed to 100 parts per million spent the same time in the dark section as the control females. There was no effect on the scotaxis on the strength of preference for red males. The total amount of time females spent in the dark section did not alter the females' preference for the red males. Okay, so this basically found nothing as well, it kind of seems. So in their discussion, the nitrate did not significantly alter female beta splendens mate preference. And on the anxiety, the ones exposed to 10 parts per million spent the most time in the dark, suggesting an increased anxiety. But more data is needed to confirm those results due to the small 0 parts per million sample size. Well, also the fact that 100 parts per million did not. Yeah, it's only 96 hours they exposed them to 2. On the other hand, the nitrate concentration 0, 10 parts per million, 100 parts per million might have been too low. I see. Jacob said, are they doing this in bottomless tanks? Here's some of the tanks they did them in. Well, this is some of the holding tanks. This is not like established tank systems. Okay. So that's the first little college paper warm myself up with. Let's get into something a little bit deeper here. Hold up. I still want to warm up. We're talking about the removal of nitrate by plants. Let's look at a plant-related one. Then we'll get into some more fish stuff. I'm still trying to get into it. A lot of tanks, Darian said, a lot of tanks have a lot of fish to provide tanks with N and P. Not all keepers have huge numbers of plants with few fishes, and you have almost no alternate from most producers. Okay, let's see what's going on here then. Speaking of which, removal of nitrate and phosphate by aquatic plants during aquarium-based ornamental fish production. Let's check this out. The aim of the study was to determine how the water quality in ornamental fish can be improved with 2 common ornamental aquatic plants. The effects of naja grass and java moss used separately and in combination on nitrate and phosphate content of the water were examined. So we got guppy grass and java moss. How much phosphates and nitrate are removed by them? Let's go. So here's the design. 16 glass tanks, 30 by 35 by 40 centimeters, each containing 40 liters of water, were set up. Jacob said, all my babies grow on guppy grass, so this is interesting. Let's go. Substrate was not used in the tanks, and a 4-week pilot system was set up before commencing the live experiments. The test system was structured in precisely the same manner, introducing fish and plants in the tanks as subsequent live experiments, and was suitable for establishing the beneficial bacteria culture within the filtration system. The tanks were filled with fresh water before setting up the pilot system, and each experiment had a 2-week rest period during which the tanks were operated empty, and that was used before starting each live experiment. Chlorine removing agent and bacterial culture Prazi Sunnyglow Bioenzyme Granulatum, and Pansy Pet KFT were added to the freshly filled tanks. Captain says putting $5 that guppy grass consumes more. I'll probably have to join you on that. So here we have a diagram of the setup. We got the tanks. The control tank is 20 fish, 1-to-3 male to female ratio. Looks like guppies. We got guppy grass, which is 20 fish. Guppy grass tanks, 20 fish, 1-to-3 male female ratio in all the tanks, and 100 grams of guppy grass. Then we have 20 fish with 100 grams of Java moss. And then we have 20 fish with 50 grams on guppy grass and 50 grams of Java moss. So does anyone think the combination tank might take up more somehow? I don't know how this is even possible, but Jared said you can put the house on that. Only floating ones are better. Let's see. Maybe they did a terrible experiment. The light they used was a Happet LED 50. Okay. Happet LED 50. This looks like it's a European brand of aquarium light. So use one long one that could cover all the tanks. Check us out. I think guppy grass has a chemical they release and chokes other plants out. I hear that about so many plants, man. Allelopathic chemical warfare. Okay, this is the chamber filtration. Okay. After introduction of fish and plants, 20% of the water was changed every week. In addition to using chlorine removing agent, tap water was used to fill and change the water in the tanks. The chemical composition of the tap water is shown in table 1. So here is the composition of the tap water. So what is this measured in? Like, what units is this measured in? Well, I'll put it on the screen so you can see. We got arsenic, boron, fluoride, nitrate, nitrite, chlorine, ammonium, chloride, iron, manganese, chemical oxygen demand, permanganate, sulfate, sodium, and total hardness. Obviously, some of these have extremely low amounts. I'm just putting it on the screen for you to read on the replay. You can pause it. But that's the chemical makeup of the tap water if you're interested. The tanks were equipped with rear chamber filtration featuring a sponge and 150 grams of ceramic that provide a large surface area for beneficial bacteria. Okay. A high-powered air pump powered all tanks at 45 watts with a capacity of 75 liters a minute at the pressure of 0.032 MPa. Let's go. They got the plants and fish commercially. The tanks were divided into 4 groups. Tanks without any plants, tanks with only guppy grass, tanks with only Java moss, and a tank with a combination of species. The guppy 20 individuals measuring 1.5 to 2.0 centimeters with a total starting fish biomass per aquarium of 10.88 grams. Jacob said, I love plant biology. Okay. You ever wonder why you smell grass after you cut the lawn is warning the nearby plants? It's not going to help. The fish were fed daily with a frozen and dry food diet during the light cycle, 3 to 4 hours before dark. They use some cyclops. They use some brine shrimp. Okay. Frozen stuff. Let's see what the results were. So first of all, there's no difference in the total mass of the Endler guppies observed among the tanks. Oh, they put an algae-eating catfish in there. Okay, those weights remained constant. And there's no fish loss during the whole experiment. Okay. This is total biomass. We don't care about the biomass of the fish. We want to know about the damn nitrates. Based on the two-way ANOVA, there's no difference in nitrate levels between the 2 independent experiments, whereas there are significant differences between the treatments. At the start, the nitrate level was 5 milligrams a liter in all aquariums, and in both experiments in the control tank, the nitrate levels increased consistently and significantly from an average of 10.0 and 11.0 milligrams a liter in the first week to 33.75 and 35 milligrams a liter by the fourth week. So from 10 to 35. That's a pretty decent increase. In contrast, in tanks containing only guppy grass, the nitrate level increased slowly from 7.7 milligrams a liter during the first week to 8.7 milligrams a liter by the fourth week. Interesting. It's still increased. In tanks containing only Java moss, the nitrate levels increased from 8.25 and 9.5 milligrams a liter during week 1 to 15 and 16 milligrams a liter by week 4. When both plant species were used together, the nitrate levels increased from 8.25 and 6.75 milligrams a liter in the first week to 12.75 and 11.50 by the fourth week. So it kind of looks like everyone was right. Okay, the guppy grass, it did the best. Although I do think it's interesting, the level it still increased. It's still slightly increased. So here you can see the tables here. They did the experiment twice. You see week 1, the control, the nitrate just kind of goes crazy. And I mean, to be fair, guppy grass still kept it a lot lower than the control. I'm sorry, I mean, the Java moss kept it a lot lower than the control. So still putting in a decent amount of work. Honestly, it's kind of crazy. I guess literally any plant kind of helps because, yeah, I don't think of Java moss as being incredibly fast growing, but it's still, more than half the amount of nitrate that accumulated. It's like 1/3 the control. Okay, let's look at the phosphate. So for phosphate levels in the control tank, it increased from 0.325 and 0.550 milligrams a liter in the first week to 2.4 milligrams a liter by the fourth week. In contrast, increase in phosphate tanks and levels in tanks with only one plant species occurred much more slowly. In the first week, the phosphate tanks containing only guppy grass were on average 0.15 and 0.20 in the first week, and increased to 1.075 milligrams a liter by the fourth week. Okay. And week 1, the phosphate levels in tanks containing only Java moss averaged 0.325 in the first week, which increased to 1.9 by week 4. So the Java moss was a lot worse at the phosphate, it seems, compared to how it kept up with the nitrates, if I'm reading this correctly. The ones containing both plant species had, by the fourth week, had 1.2, and we see that on the graph here. Yeah, we definitely see the Java moss did not help with phosphates very much at all. Wow. Okay. Well, I wasn't trying to rely on Java moss for that purpose, but shit. Guppy grass reigns supreme. What can I say? Okay. Similar to nitrate, the phosphate levels in the control tank. Okay, I agree with that. The two-way ANOVA test indicated that plant biomass significantly differed between the treatments only in the fourth week. In the single species tanks, the mass of plants showed a significant increase, with an average increase of 1.6-fold for the guppy grass, from 100 and 100 grams in experiment, so 1 and 2, to 162 and 166 grams in both experiments. Similarly, in tanks containing only Java moss, plant mass was showed to have a significant 1.3-fold increase. Okay, from 100 grams to 131 grams. Between the two species, Java moss exhibited a more moderate increase in mass compared to guppy grass. In the single tank species, in tanks with both plants, the mass of Java moss showed an average decrease of 1.2-fold. Wow. But it was not a significant decrease tendency with time compared to its initial biomass. Okay. Captain says I have to jump, but have a good one. Hope you learned things. Have a good one, Captain. Take it easy. Interesting. Okay, so that's the biomass. And Jacob, you had said something about guppy grass killing other plants. It looks like you might have got something on there. Despite the weekly ammonia level measurements, ammonia cannot be detected in the water of the tanks. No significant differences in pH were detected between the treatments or between measurements taken between the first and last weeks of the two independent experiments. The pH was 8 in all tanks throughout the time period. Okay. Although the present study did not focus on the health status of fish, it's worth mentioning that no differences in growth and survival in adult guppies were observed between the control and treatment groups. Therefore, the major impacts of plants on fish performance in closed systems would be on the water quality, leading to reduced stress and disease incidence. According to some studies, compounds released by plants, such as O2, organic acids, oleochemicals, and certain enzymes into the water can contribute to other beneficial effects on fish. For example, they might suppress the growth of pathogens in algae or influence the colors of fish. However, these effects may vary for different aquatic plants due to the differences in compositions of their compounds. Nitrate levels of around 10 to 30 milligrams a liter can be considered toxic, but this varies depending on the sensitivity of the aquatic organisms, exposure time, and nitrate concentration. Okay. According to our results, the nitrate levels in the control tank significantly increased over time, while the increase was slower in the plant-containing tanks, only reaching around 10 milligrams a liter. Gotcha. So, basically, I think we've read enough to see it. The study determined the efficiency of nitrogen and phosphate filtration by guppy grass and java moss in single species and combined species tanks during ornamental fish farming. While the study did not directly measure filtration efficiency, the significant reductions in nitrate and phosphate levels indicate the nutrient uptake capabilities of the plants. Okay. That was a nice, easy one to get through. Well, am I warmed up enough to get into something a little bit harder to read? Let's see. I think I'm gonna have to go for it. Let me see which one I want to read first. Okay. This would be super hard mode. I'm not doing that. Okay. There we go. Next paper. Ooh, I forgot to put the links in the chat as I've been going. My apologies. I'll do that for this one. JP said 23 watching, only 12 likes. Hit the like. Yeah, hit the like, hit the dislike. Okay. Next one. Conservation and physiology of freshwater fishes. An illustration of pressing questions and implications for management. This is kind of a larger paper, but I had some parts about nitrates that I wanted to read. And yeah, let's get into it. Eutrophication. Anthropogenic eutrophication is caused by nutrient enrichment, primarily nitrogen and phosphorus, from agricultural and urbanization. Nutrient sources include point sources such as wastewater treatment plants and diffuse sources such as agriculture and runoff. Natural freshwater systems are often phosphorus limited, but can be nitrogen or co-nutrient limited. Nitrates and nitrites, ambient nitrates hereafter, as well as total ammonia, the equilibrium between ionized ammonium NH4+ and ionized free ammonia NH3, are the most prevalent nitrogen pollutants that are both bioavailable to primary producers and potentially harmful to fish. Excess nutrients trigger algal growth and subsequent decay, which causes increased turbidity. What's up, Diana Roach? How's it going? Late, but I hit like. Appreciate you. Didn't have to do that. Appreciate it. Yes, nutrients trigger algal growth and subsequent decay, which causes increased turbidity, hypoxia, and changing pH, effects that are accelerated with increased temperature. Nutrient enrichment is also associated with blooms of toxic cyanobacteria, which can be harmful to fish. Therefore, freshwater fish in hypertrophic systems must cope with sequential and possible synergistic direct and indirect stressors from acute to chronic timescales. Nitrogen pollutants lead to diverse and complex sublethal and lethal impairments in fish. Would you do something if someone described it to you as sublethal? Like, here, take this, drink this. It's only sublethal. Don't worry about it. Like, speaking of which, let's clink. I'm gonna clink my my coffee. 3, 2, 1, clink. All right. Whew. I do not like coffee. Okay. Nitrogen pollutants lead to diverse and complex sublethal and lethal impairments on fish. Well, in fish. Darian says alcohol sublethal. I think so. I think so. But if you described it as sublethal, it might infect the cells. I don't know. Ambient nitrates enter the blood through the gills by facilitated diffusion in place of chloride, Cl- ions. High plasma nitrate levels can disrupt ion balances and oxidize hemoglobin into methemoglobin, a non-functional form that cannot bind oxygen. Interesting. Okay. So high levels of nitrates can disrupt their ability to bind oxygen. I'm going to read that sentence one more time so I can try and understand it better, and good luck to you guys. So they said ambient nitrates enter the blood through the gills by facilitated diffusion in place of chloride ions. High plasma nitrate levels can disrupt ion balances and oxidize hemoglobin into methemoglobin, a non-functional form that cannot bind oxygen. These lead to cardiorespiratory impairment. Okay, that kind of... If I just read the next few words, then I would have had to repeat the sentence. Specifically, a fish's AS can decline with nitrate acclimation. They must have... I didn't see what this was abbreviated for. Either due to increasing... Okay, one second. We got to go up and read the abbreviation key real quick. So AS is aerobic scope. ALAN, ALAN, is artificial light at night. AG plus is silver. ABT is the Arrhenius breakpoint temperature. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. CCME is the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment. Okay. Cl- is chloride. CT max is a critical thermal maximum. MMR is the maximum metabolic rate. NO2 is nitrites. NO3 is nitrates. PIT is the passive integrated transponder. SMR is the standard metabolic rate. TFM is the 3-triafluomethyl-4-nitrophenol. What the hell? And TOPT is the optimal temperature for performance. We'll be revisiting this, but I just wanted to get through this. By the way, this was put out on the August 4th, 2025. And this is conservation physiology. Okay, let's get back to where we were. This is actually I'm excited. This is interesting already. By the way, they have a little diagram of existing and emerging threats to freshwater fish. And for those that are just listening, it's basically like a pond, like a lake, and it's surrounded by all the threats. So one is habitat fragmentation, which is shown in the form of a dam. We have natural disasters. They got a forest fire over here. We got rising temperatures. We got looks like cows, some farm runoff, contaminants, invasive species, changing food quality and availability, infectious disease, eutrophication and hypoxia, and noise and light pollution. Just in case, you're wondering what there is threatening out there. Okay, so the AS is the aerobic scope, and where we're reading, it said that a fish's aerobic scope. I lost my place. 1 second. Yes, a fish's aerobic scope can decline with nitrate accumulation. I'm going to look up aerobic scope. Aerobic scope is the difference between an animal's maximum metabolic rate and its resting or standard metabolic rate. Okay. So the aerobic scope can be decreased, declines with nitrate acclimation, either due to decreasing MMR or increasing SMR. Additionally, nitrogen pollution can lead to decreased growth, decreased swimming performance, hyperkalemia, a higher than normal level of potassium in the bloodstream. Okay, sounds dangerous. Increased antioxidant activity, gill swelling, wow, and damage, gill swelling and damage, enlarged liver, and enlarged spleen. Ultimately, nitrate exposure can be lethal to fish. Similarly, the effects of ammonia include, but not limited to, impaired neurological function, reduced ATP production, increased reactive oxygen species, and oxidative damage, reduced swimming capacity, lethargy, and death. Furthermore, the toxicity of total ammonia increases with increasing pH and temperature. These effects are particularly concerning in changing climates. Eutrophication is a widespread global issue with a few management and remittance guidelines. For example, the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment generated controversy with its freshwater nitrate guideline for point and non-point sources in 2003 because it was based on the sensitivity of the Pacific tree frog, Pseudocris regilla, whereas many mines, which are point sources for nitrates, are situated at sites too cold for amphibians and do not discharge into amphibian habitats. So they're like, yo, you're basing the standard on frogs that don't even live near where we're mining. What's the problem? No frogs here. By using physiological approaches to assess a broader range of species, the updated 2012 guidelines included a toxicological study of 12 species, including fish, amphibians, algae, and invertebrates. Recently, Health Canada modeled a species sensitivity distribution and used the 5th percentile to derive a guideline of 13 milligrams of nitrate a liter. The most sensitive species in the analysis was lake trout, Salvelinus namaycush, Namaycush. Early life stages, there we go, embryo, larva, and swim-up fry, where swim-up fry had reduced growth and chronic development tests after exposure to 28 milligrams of nitrates a liter. This updated guideline did not incorporate any toxicity modifying factors such as low chloride and water hardness or any of the indirect effects of eutrophication such as hypoxia and decreases in pH. Of 13 Canadian provinces, only 5 have adopted this guideline, and only the province of Manitoba has regulations to enforce it. Wow. That's kind of the thing with a lot of these like guidelines and anything involving the environment and stuff is like these organizations make all these guidelines, but they have no authority or means to enforce them or have people adopt them. It's all, up to whoever to decide they actually want to follow those guidelines. So sometimes it kind of feels like this is nice, but what's the point? What's the point if you can't actually enforce it? Total ammonia TAN guidelines for freshwater are issued more broadly, including by United States Environmental Protection Agency, the US EPA, 2013. That's one of the papers on my list. By Australian and New Zealand Environment and Conservation Council and Agriculture and Resource Management Council of Australia and New Zealand, and by the Canadian Environmental Protection Act of 1999. One second, my lights are turning off. I gotta turn them back on. Alright, let's get back to the nitrates. Whew. I pinned this paper. I thought I pinned this paper in the chat. Looks like I accidentally pinned JP asking people to like the stream. My bad. Don't worry about it. Just lurk. I don't mind. Okay, let me move to the next one real quick. That's the section I wanted to read from that. Because that actually goes into something from 2013, which is updating nitrate toxicity effects on freshwater aquatic species. I like reading stuff that's recent, but sometimes it's fun reading older stuff because then it helps put into context how we actually got here eventually. This is prepared for the Ministry of Building, Innovation and Employment, funded by EnviroLink. Holy. The National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, LTD. This is out of New Zealand, if you want to contact anyone for information regarding this report for over a decade ago. So just a real quick introduction. The National Policy Statement on Freshwater Management requires regional councils to identify water quality limits to manage values of our aquatic ecosystems. Recognition of appropriate contaminant toxicity thresholds is the integral part of this process. This report provides the updated derivation of the freshwater nitrate toxicity guidelines and guidance on their application to New Zealand's rivers and lakes. So, when I put the question on a stream like this, and I kind of feel bad because sometimes it takes me a while to get to a paper directly related to the title, but I try to kind of read a lot of different things related to the topic so we have a more broad scope of everything involving what's going on. And I think it's interesting because one of the papers earlier already mentioned that high nitrates can happen in certain environments, right? So I think it's interesting to read these things talking about what the guidelines are for natural, quote unquote, bodies of water. So let's get into it. Oh, whoa. 1 second, I can hear myself. Why can I hear myself? Okay, we're good. Right, so the objective for the study was to incorporate results of nitrate toxicity trials being carried out by HBRC into the guidelines, review recent overseas studies on nitrate toxicity effects on aquatic species, and update the values for aquatic species based on information collection. 1 second, I can still hear myself. I gotta find where this is. I can't read in these conditions. This is what I sound like. This is actually torture. Yo, what the hell? Where is it coming from? Please. Can you guys hear that? Or is it just me? Because it could kind of seem like I'm losing my mind. Okay, I don't think you guys can hear it. Okay. It was coming from my phone. I figured it out. We're good. We're good. We're back. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're back. My headphones connected to my phone, which somehow was randomly started playing the stream on something. Okay, let's get into this. So, background. Nitrates occur naturally in the environment and is produced and consumed through the process of nitrogen cycle. Oh, we all know what the nitrogen cycle is. Okay, come on. And JP just asked a very pertinent question. Smart person says, not sure Nick is losing his mind here. That's why I said I don't think you guys could hear it. Jacob said, I zoned up for 10 minutes watching these eye spots. I'm going to post them. I really wonder what species there are. There's a big white one too. Please do. Will this be in the quiz? There'll be a quiz. There'll be a quiz for sure. But I don't know which part will be in it. I wonder what the average nitrate levels are in a lot of places, Jacob asks. I think that's going to be very relevant to what they kind of get into here. So, nitrates occur naturally in the environment and is produced and consumed through the process of the nitrogen cycle, and anthropogenically produced for agriculture use as a fertilizer. Excuse me. The major anthropogenic sources of nitrate to surface water are agricultural runoff, municipal and industrial wastewaters, urban runoff, and groundwater inputs. Nitrate concentrations are an important indicator of agricultural enrichment and ecological health. As such, they form an important component of the management of freshwaters, requiring robust guideline values to support environmental planning and management. Since the last revision of the freshwater nitrate trigger values for toxicity in 2000, errors were identified in the derivation and new data has become available. So let's see what they got into. I'm going to get through all their aquatic toxicology. Second. So here we have acute nitrate toxicity to amphipod invertebrate species and rainbow trout, which has been shown to be sensitive to water hardness with increasing toxicity at low hardness. However, acute toxicity of juvenile inanga was not affected by water hardness. The modifying factors affecting nitrate toxicity are discussed in the following section. Okay, that's something I was curious about, because some of these other things like ammonia and stuff, we see how toxic it is greatly affected by things like pH and stuff. So I kind of was wondering if nitrate was similar. So here we have a chart where on the bottom, the horizontal axis, we have nitrate concentration, and then on the vertical axis, we have the cumulative frequency of species percentage. So what it kind of seems like is they're going through and saying, hey, at water where nitrates at this concentration, we don't see any of these species. And that's something I've been wanting to get into, which is what some of the local kind of like environmental agencies, wildlife, do is they go and sample sites. And part of how they tell how healthy a body of water is based upon what they find there. And that's one of the things that's been interesting to me, because when I go look for isopods, that kind of involves a similar thing where I'm sampling and I'm trying to find these isopods. But that's where you get the phrase indicator species, you know. So I've kind of seen here how they're using that. So we see at 50 milligrams a liter nitrate, like we see some mayfly larvae. We see rainbow trout right under 60. We see that there's no juveniles of inanga. Inanga, what is that animal? Looks like it's a kind of fish, a species of ray-finned fish. I'm not familiar with these. Well, the juveniles they're only finding them really in the lower nitrate waters. We have mayfly larvae at the bottom. Okay, let me read the explanation for this chart, but this is actually pretty cool. Toxicity modifying factors. Here we go. The mechanisms regulating nitrate uptakes and toxicity are not fully understood. Recent work has investigated the effect of water hardness on the toxicity of nitrate using both short-term and long-term toxicity tests. Sorry, I'm typing something real quick. Short-term exposure was conducted with several fishes and vertebrate species and showed linear relationships between the logarithm of toxicant concentration and the logarithm of hardness for each of the test species. A long-term study evaluating the relationship between water hardness and nitrate toxicity was also conducted using a 40-day embryo alevin fry test with rainbow trout. Mycus. However, the results did not definitively demonstrate the relationship between increasing hardness and nitrate toxicity. In some cases, sensitivity appeared greater in the moderately hard water compared to the soft water. Chronic test results for native Inaga juveniles showed they were 3.5 times more sensitive to nitrates in low hardness water compared to moderate hardness water, but that no acute toxicity response was observed. Overall, the trend for all species in both short-term and long-term exposures was one of decreasing toxicity with increasing hardness. Now, this is very interesting to me because I have soft water, and there's a couple tanks here and there that I don't change the water on as frequently. So it would be kind of nice to know if the softness of my water affects how much I should be considering than the potential nitrate levels in some of my tanks. Okay, let's go. Darian says, who say nitrates under 4 parts per million are safe for people to drink of water? I'm interested. Is that okay for babies as well? I thought it was 10 parts per million that it was safe for people to drink. But I've said many times, I would be the worst partner of someone who was pregnant, because when I read about the things, like the small things that affect the outcome of that pregnancy, I feel like I would be so paranoid. Like it's just now starting to be kind of mainstream to let people know that it's been long known if a woman is drinking when she's pregnant or things like that, it's bad, right? Now they're starting to do some papers and stuff showing that when men consume certain things or drinking leading up to conception, that can affect the outcome of the pregnancy. And just knowing that such small things can make a big difference, oh my gosh. I think the levels of paranoia in my mind would go crazy. I'd be like, look, we're gonna need a very strategic meal plan. We could both follow it, but I just feel like I'd be so anxious. I'd be so anxious. I never even thought about water. Darian said, I thought the same, and my wife is pregnant, and I'm cool. You know what? That's what someone said to me before. They're like, you feel that way, but then when you are in that situation, you're going to be okay. So that's good to know. And congratulations, by the way. But okay. Overall, the trend for species of both short-term and long-term exposures was one of decreasing toxicity with increasing hardness. However, because of the uncertainty in hardness-dependent short-term or long-term equations, no hardness modifying relationships were incorporated into the recent Environment Canada nitrate guideline. Nitrite toxicity and the potential for ameliorating effects of increased chloride ion concentration is well documented for fish, and more recently for freshwater macroinvertebrates, because nitrite and chloride ions compete for the same transport site. Elevated chloride concentrations in the environment have a potential of reducing nitrite toxicity. For this mechanism to occur, the nitrate ions would require initial reduction to the nitrite ion, which would occur in the digestive tract prior to uptake from the digestive system. Because this is a less direct mechanism than for nitrite toxicity modification, where the primary interaction is at the gill surface, any chloride effects with nitrate would be most significant for chronic rather than acute exposures. Further studies will be required to demonstrate that chloride is a significant modifier of chronic nitrate toxicity. Hopefully some of you understood that, because I don't know what the hell I just read. I'm going to be totally honest. Oh, man. Okay, let me scroll down to the next relevant thing, because this is a long situation. Okay, recommendations. There we go. Recommendations. Okay. Additional testing is also recommended to establish the key water quality factor affecting nitrate toxicity. This could be done for chronic test procedures using juvenile Inaga and a range of chloride concentrations in low hardness water. It would also be useful if comparable measurements were undertaken for one or more macroinvertebrate species in order to determine the generality of the response relationship. Okay, I gotta look up this fish, because what the hell is this Inaga fish? I just need like a I need an explanation of what the hell this fish is. I'm seeing videos about them like spawning and stuff from that. What is the Anaga fish? Okay, I'm gonna see. This is an animation of the Naga life cycle. Give me, just humor me, okay?
I am Inanga. I'm on a journey from Moana to Awa, sea to river. But I'm not travelling alone. Many other Inanga, Kokopu and Kowaro are on their way too.
Darian said nitrogen allowed in drinking water is 10 parts per million. Nitrates 50 parts per million. So we're both wrong. And then you, okay, you got me.
What's this? Yeah, nah.
Yo, it's too late for this. What's going on?
Meet the easiest pull-on pan.
I'm trying to understand what this fish is, and the videos are just crazy. He said, "Thank you. You're welcome."
Possible when the regional council was carrying out.
Okay, YouTube is not gonna be. No one cares about this fish. That's what I'm getting. There's no videos about this damn fish, so I'm gonna have to look at the EPA.govt. New Zealand Inaga species spotlight. One of the 5 native species of white bait found in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Okay. They move between freshwater and saltwater environments during their lifetime. Adults live their life in freshwater. Here they feed on larvae of insects. Okay. So I see. It's one of those species that does a lot of moving around. Adults must migrate down to estuarine environments when they're ready to breed, which is where freshwater meets seawater. The migration happens before a full and new moon from February to May. Once they have migrated, they wait until there's a very high spring tide. As the tide rises, they make their way up to the bank and into the flooded vegetation at the edge of the water. They lay their eggs on the bank where they will be vulnerable and stranded until the next spring tide. Okay. Understanding what these fish are. JP said whoa. That's what I'm saying, man. Streamside plants provide protection from damage from UV to extreme temperatures and predation from tuna, eels, and pest mammals. Shade and plants are crucial for the survival of Inaga eggs. So they migrate between freshwater and seawater, and they lay their eggs outside of the water. Yo, what? This is a crazy ass fish, man. I'm not gonna lie. This is a pretty crazy fish. The next spring tide stimulates the eggs to hatch, and the larvae are at the mercy of the current swept downstream to the sea. In the Moana, the larvae become part of the plankton and therefore the base of the food web for the marine ecosystem. A food web comprises of all the feeding connections between species in an ecosystem, essentially who eats who. And by the following spring, the surviving juvenile Inaga have grown to around 5.5 centimeters and will begin the big migration back to the Awa. At this time, they're vulnerable to white baiting, which I don't know what white baiting is, but I have a feeling some fisher people in the chat probably know. The Inaga that aren't captured spend the summer in slow flowing sections of the Awa and grow into adults. In the late summer, these adults will be ready to spawn. Many die after spawning, but some live for another year. Spawning takes a lot of energy and leaves adults susceptible to disease and at greater risk from predators like trout. Interesting. Okay, I knew nothing about this fish, and now throughout this stream, I've now learned more about the fish. So fantastic. Okay, let me find my next thing I wanted to read real quick. Here we go. I think this is what I was looking for. Hold up. Please. Load the PDF. Sorry, I got a long list of things. I got a long list of papers to look at. What can I say? But here we have the next one. We're here. Are you guys awake? Are you here? Are you locked in? Are you locked in? Live people, replay crewing about. I know it's a little bit later into the night, but this is what we're getting into. A critical review on the effect of nitrate pollution in aquatic invertebrates and fish. This is September 2022, accepted the 21st of March 2023. Darian said, I'm not here. Okay. I'm just going to have to take your word for it. JP's locked in. After this paper, I'm going to check out anything you guys want me to check out. We might do one or two more, probably. There's one on the effect that it has on fry that I need to find and go over. But I want to take a little break after this one. So, okay. A review on the effect of nitrate pollution in aquatic vertebrates and fish. What's up, Johnny Best? How's it going, Johnny Best? Hope you're doing well. Let's get into this one. I'm just going to scroll down through the abstract because we're beyond abstracts. We don't need an abstract. The highlights. Environmental pollution for nitrates getting worse and is harming the health of aquatic ecosystems. Nitrate causes growth reduction, histopathological changes, neurotoxicity, endocrine disruption, and ultimately death to aquatic organisms. Nitrate disrupts thyroid function, causes cancer, congenital cardiac defect, and methemoglobinemia in infants and fish. Now, if we were to get into this deeper at a later level, I think this is kind of where we're going to get into, which if I can get to the papers after our little break, this highlight right here, that nitrate disrupts thyroid function, causes cancer, congenital cardiac defect, and this methemoglobinemia in infants and fishes. I think fry is going to be the main thing. Like the ability of these fish to deliver oxygen to the blood is affected by high nitrates. And it seems like young fish are the most affected. What's up, Big Steve, in the chat? Big Steve said, what's up, everyone? How's it going, Big Steve? I'm going to read a little bit of the introduction. Let's get into it. Nitrogen is one of the primary constituents for biomolecules, including DNA, RNA, proteins, chlorophyll, etc. Although gaseous nitrogen is very abundant in the atmosphere, it is largely inaccessible to most organisms in this form. Inorganic and bioavailable nitrogen is present in forms like NO3, NH4+, and NO2-. These compounds are interrelated via the nitrification cycle. Ammonia is a metabolic byproduct directly excreted into the water. And everyone's saying, what's up, Big Steve? Yo, did you know Big Steve is the hottest up-and-coming hobbyist breeder in the world and the best breeder of Nanochromis transvestitis in the entire universe? It's kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. Ammonia is a metabolic byproduct directly excreted into the water. Ammonia is converted into nitrites and subsequently nitrates through nitrification by naturally occurring bacteria, Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, as follows. I'm not reading that as follows, I'll be honest. In an aquatic and terrestrial ecosystem, the concentration of bioavailable nitrogenous compounds is maintained at a low level. The plants and microbes assimilate those nitrogenous compounds. The limiting resource of bioavailable nitrogen maintains a balance between primary productivity and global carbon storage. In the United States, the maximum concentration level for nitrate as a nitrate nitrogen, NO3-N, in public drinking water is 10 milligrams a liter, which is nearly equivalent to the WHO recommendation of 11.3 NO3-N, or 50 milligrams a liter as NO3, which Darian in the chat said a little bit earlier. In India, the permitted limit for nitrate ions in drinking water is 55 milligrams a liter. However, due to the different natural and anthropogenic sources, the level of those nitrogenous wastes, including ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, are increasing in the ecosystem, becoming a global threat for the animal life due to the toxic impact. Darren said, funny name for a fish. Increased exposure to ammonia changes metabolic status in aquatic vertebrates, impairs muscle contraction due to the competition with potassium ions present in the muscle membrane. It also causes neurotoxicity by depolarizing the neurons and depleting ATP, which can lead to cell death. Elevated nitrite concentrations causes acute toxicity in aquatic animals. Nitrite exposure affects blood parameters, leading to methemoglobin or ferrohemoglobin hypoxia and hemolytic anemia. It causes tissue impairment and metabolism injury. Nitrate can enter the body of fish and crustaceans through diffusion in the branchial epithelium. Elevated nitrate concentration in the body affects the food intake, growth rate, swimming performance, reproductive capacity, and survival rate. Nitrate toxicity to aquatic animals increases with the increase of concentration of nitrate and its exposure time. So, the more nitrate, the more time that they're exposed to it, increases how toxic it is to things. Who would have thought? The low pH of water. Oh, okay. Damn it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not saying that there's a few tanks. So, I have one or two tanks that I've been having issues with. And I've really been trying to troubleshoot what the hell the issues are. Now, I have softer water. I have lower pH water, like in the 6s. And those things are generally good for me because it decreases the toxicity of things. Like ammonia, it's good for breeding stuff. But now, one of the things I've been dealing with is every now and then I get a fish who's getting bloated and eventually goes to dropsy. Now, dropsy is something that is not a disease, right? It's a symptom. And what it's often a symptom of is organ failure. The kind of organ failure that's kind of described by the effects of high nitrates. Now, I don't think necessarily high nitrates is causing necessarily the organ failure of the fish I'm having, but here's a little bit of an antidote. So there was a Congo tetra, a 50-gallon breeder that I had. And in that 50-gallon breeder, there's not really many fish at all. It's just a school of Congo tetras. And is it a 50-gallon breeder? It's a 50-gallon. It's basically the dimensions of 40-gallon but taller. Anyways, there's some Congo tetras and a pair of killifish. There was one Congo tetra in there, and it was displaying symptoms of dropsy. And I moved it to another tank, which I have basically, I call it my hospice tank. So if there's a sick fish, I isolate it from the other fish and I put it into my hospice tank. And within 24 hours, that fish completely reverted all symptoms of dropsy. So I've been trying to figure out how that could even be possible and what would cause it. Now, I'm not bringing this up to even try to suggest that this has anything to do with that, but you know, one of the things about dealing with fish and fish sickness is the fact that there's a billion factors. And the idea that nitrate toxicity increases at low pHs is not something I'd even considered or been aware of before. So it's kind of interesting. Moneyless Maven said, I'm back. Darian said, who would tell? And then Diana Roach said, Steve breeds what? Yes, Big Steve is one of the best breeders in the world of Nanochromis transvestitis, which is a very gorgeous, well-mannered nano fish. Small cichlid, I believe from the Congo, which is also what Google's telling me. And it was named that because the females are prettier than the males, which was abnormal, considered to be abnormal at the time. So it's Nanochromis transvestitis. This is the female. They got bright red bellies and a dark coloration with black and white striping on the caudal, anal, and dorsal fins. Camjan said Big Steve is the biggest up-and-coming breeder in the USA. I would say the world, honestly. I'd say the world. But USA is a good start. He's good at breeding everything. I don't know what's up with this guy. Okay, so the low pH of water also enhances the effect of nitrate toxicity on aquatic animals, as low pH electrolytes such as Na plus and Cl minus are lost from the body. I think that's chloride, right? And to balance the electrolytes, metabolic energy is needed. Therefore, simultaneous exposure to both low pH and elevated nitrate concentration increases maintenance costs and reduce maximum oxygen uptake. Now, this is interesting because, thank you, couldn't begin to Google that. I got you. Now, this is also interesting because one of my most problematic tanks at one point had a huge mat of red root floaters. So, again, I'm not trying to diagnose my issue, and I'm not trying to say this is what's causing anything, but it's a great example of a factor I didn't know exists. I didn't know that nitrate toxicity increased with low pH, and I have a lot of low pH tanks. I didn't know that also reduced the maximum oxygen uptake, and I have a lot of tanks with a lot of floating plants, which during the night plants consume oxygen. So if I have floating plants covering the entire surface of a tank, even if during the day when I'm watching them it's fine, there could be an increase of stress during the night. So just something to think about. Okay, in contrast, water salinity and increasing body size also cause a general decrease in nitrate toxicity. And they have references here to different papers for each of these points. But that's kind of interesting because I've been talking about how the fry are more susceptible to nitrates. And they list here increasing body size decreases nitrate toxicity. So kind of building on what we've talked about a little bit. Alteration in performance of aquatic animals and nitrate toxicity is because of reduced oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. The oxygen carrying pigments, hemoglobin and hemocyanin, transformed into the non-oxygen carrying pigment methemoglobin, which results in decreased oxygen levels in the blood. So the toxicity mechanism of nitrate is similar to that of nitrite, as nitrite is ultimately transformed into nitrite in vivo. So the toxicity of nitrite and nitrate is similar, as nitrite is ultimately transformed into nitrate. Humans are exposed to environmental nitrate through public drinking water supplies. Drinking water nitrate concentration has increased in many regions, mostly due to the application of animal manure and inorganic fertilizers in agricultural lands. The safe level of nitrate in public water supply has already been set to prevent infant methemoglobinemia, although other health issues were not considered. So even in humans, it seems a lot of emphasis being put on infants and the risks to exposure to nitrates. The risk of various cancers, birth defects, thyroid disease, and other health damage can occur due to nitrate intake through drinking water that increases the formation of N-nitrosyl compounds. The major focus of this present review is to discuss the implications of the elevated nitrate levels in aquatic ecosystems and the acute toxic effect of nitrate on aquatic invertebrates and fish. Let's get into it, man. I've been reading the intro too long. Come on, let's see. Toxicity to aquatic invertebrates. This is relevant to the shrimp. This is relevant to my aquatic isopods. Shit, probably relevant to the snails, right? A predicted unimodal relationship states that nutrient enrichment may cause a subsidy stress effect. A small number of nutrients prompt primary productivity, thereby delivering advantage to the community composition as well as biodiversity. Uncurbed nutrients often lead to algal blooms, oxygen depletion, and deteriorating habitat conditions, creating environmental stress and biodiversity loss. The nitrate nitrogen, along with sediment and low flows, has been predicted to have cumulative stress on freshwater communities. Nitrate toxicity to aquatic invertebrates depends on nitrate concentration and exposure time. increasing body size, the salinity of the water, and environmental adaptation generally decrease the toxic impact of nitrate on aquatic animals. What's up, Yurio? What's up, George? Yurio, help. I don't know what I'm reading. Joke. How's it going? How's it going? They tested... They observed a wide sensitivity to nitrate with LC50 value ranging from 357 to 937 milligrams of nitrate a liter. The nitrate sensitivity order was as follows. So they did a order of what species were most sensitive to nitrate. They reported the midge, Chironomus dilutus, and reported the midge is more sensitive to nitrate compared to the unionid mussel. The mussel and midge showed the median effect concentrations of EC50 of 665 milligrams of NO3 minus N a liter and 189 of nitrate a liter, respectively, and the chronic effect concentrations of 17 milligrams of NO3 minus N a liter and 9.6 milligrams NO3 minus N a liter, respectively, reported the acute toxicity range of nitrite on narrow-clawed crayfish Astacus lepidactylus between 22 and 70 milligrams a liter after 48 hours. What's up, Maven? You said, what? I have no idea, bro. That's what I'm saying. Environmental chloride elevated the toxicity of nitrite, ranging between 31 to 80 milligrams a liter after 48 hours. A previous study investigated the toxicity of nitrate on freshwater Oligochaeta, the annelid worm tubifex. Okay. In order to investigate the effective ionic strength of nitrate toxicity, a previous study conducted a chronic toxicity test for aquatic invertebrates with different of ion concentration. The result explained that lower nitrate toxicity was associated with higher concentrations of major ions in the water. Big Steve said 28 minus 1 inch of pistols. What are you talking about, Big Steve? You're putting hieroglyphics in the chat. I don't even know what's going on. Speaking of which, I had to evict the male Episto from the Hongsloi Panda Kore tank. 1 second. I don't know what was going on, but he was like, he wouldn't leave the female alone. I wonder if maybe he wanted to spawn again or something. And he was basically harassing her to where she had to run away from where the kids were. So I got him out of there because I was like, she needs to focus on raising these fry. I can't have you stressing her out and chasing her around. So I got him the heck out of there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, Big Steve. I'm trying to show the fry while also. She's doing good though. She's doing good. Kanjan says, Steve, that's just one situation. You're still the best. Oh, in light of my comment, I'm not the number one breeder of shit tonight. I lost 28 baby Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Steve said he lost 28 baby pistos. Damn, it sucks. Hey, I feel you, though. I'm not the best breeder of anything tonight. I've been there so many times. So many times. For one, I've been working really hard on breeding blue galars from the Funge location. Right? They're still growing out. I still have a good amount of them, but you know, my room is a little bit colder. I'm having a hard time keeping my room at the temperature I'd like it to be. And if you're not familiar, the temperature of the water can greatly affect the sex ratio of a lot of fish. So I've got about 30 plus fry of blue galars from the Funge location. I'm trying to find a picture. And it looks like perhaps almost every single one of them is female. The Funge location, it basically looks the same as the low location, which is totally blue and red, as opposed to the typical blue galars kind of has some orange in there and stuff. So yeah, I feel you, Big Steve. I feel you. Also, what other fry have I lost recently? I did lose a couple of Procatopus. I have 2 species of Procatopus, and I lost some fry, my second species that I hadn't currently lost. So Yo-Yo said, "What? Whoa, what a fish!" I know, man. It's incredible. So I have a pair of fish that basically look like this, and they lay a lot of eggs. A lot of them tend to be infertile, and I've got 30 plus fry of them, but I think all of them are female. Steve said, "I lost my male too." Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. That's rough. Hey, but you have fry from the Tenocara Candida, which I have not. My pair have laid eggs twice, and I've not gotten any fry from them. But you're still the best, Steve. You're still the best. These things do happen. We believe in you, or at least I do. But I think the chat does as well. Steve says, "I do have Candida fry." I mean, that's a pretty big flex. I'm not gonna lie. Not many people have ever had Candida fry. I'm not gonna look at fish for some time. This is the fish everyone should want to have. I have a pair of these right now, and they're actually incredible. So the big trend with fish keeping right now is nano fish, and everyone wants cichlids because they're so cool. So what if I told you there was a nano dwarf cichlid? Well, I'll be honest. There's a couple of really cool nano dwarf cichlids that are like truly super small, but this is one that has to be at the top of the list. Is Teniacara candida. It was dwarf cichlid, South America, Brazil. Darian said nano takes it up, I think, but okay. Oh my god, bro, whatever. They're very pretty. And Steve has fry from them. They're not the most common fish ever. They definitely don't come around like in a local fish store very often. But I have a pair of these, and it's just like the photo. The males are super colorful with long fin extensions, and they're super thin. I'm trying to get a number for what they say the max size is, because I'm terrible. I can't look at something and say how many inches it is. It's not something that I can do. It says on Google 2 inches or 5. Yeah, 2 inches would be the max size, I think. Very small. Darian said 150 plus gallon nano tanks is the best. It's interesting. I keep mostly small fish, but I am getting the big fish I'm most interested in is Geophagus. And then this might be surprising to some people, but my friend Aaron Smalls, who's also Black Planet on YouTube, he has a Starry Night cichlid, and I think they're so gorgeous. I think they look pretty good in these pictures, but in person, the Starry Night cichlids, like grown out, just look pretty dope. Maven said my blue Galaris Awari, pretty nice. At least you're honest. Some people lie and would never tell anyone if that happened. Respect. That's true. Steve's been very honest about, like, I think he said he lost a lot of fish because of a CO2 controller failing. Like, Steve is real, but let me tell you, this guy is extremely competent breeder. This shit happens to everyone. I mean, that's what happens when you try and manage a bunch of live animals with all these parameters, all these variables. Something is bound to go wrong eventually. So I know Steve is he's always gonna make a lot more fish than he loses. Darren said Geophagus and Euro are the biggest fish I ever had, and I had an 800-gallon aquarium. Nice. Yeah, I saw I think it was a Geophagus schwinni in person in like a giant tank, and it was grown out and huge, and it was one of the prettiest fish I ever seen. Raven said I had a 90-gallon of white clouds, leopard daniels, etc. Ooh, Steve said thanks, Nick. Come on, man. I don't say you're the hottest up and coming hobbyist breeder for no reason. Also, if you see the space Big Steve works in, he does more in a couple of small tanks than most people are able to do with like a bunch of small or big tanks. So I don't know. He treats his fish well. That's all I can say. Okay. I saw a baby UARU the other day, and they are wild looking as babies. Oh, we were looking at this fish recently. What do the babies look like? The little speckled things. These did come up though. All right, let me get through to this real quick. What we were reading before. Toxicity of nitrate. They have a table here of species and the toxicological parameters. Species sensitivity distribution curve for aquatic invertebrates to nitrate toxicity. The black line denotes central tendency and blue lines denotes 95% confidence intervals. So you see they have different larvas and nymphs of all these invertebrates and their sensitivities to nitrate. I'm just going to go ahead and read the concluding remarks real quick. Concluding remarks. I'm going to hop into the In My Tanks Discord VC. Yeah, I'm going to hop in there. And if you guys want to chat on stream about any of these things or whatever else, feel free to hop in. But let me finish reading this real quick. Oops, I did not mean to copy that. Copy. Okay. In conclusion, the data presented in this present review suggests that nitrate toxicity due to natural and anthropogenic sources may seriously affect both aquatic animals and human health. Nitrate concentrations in the water resources are increasing due to the use of nitrogen fertilizer in animal agriculture. Therefore, a safe level of nitrate, as recommended by the WHO guidelines, should be maintained in the environment to protect living organisms. National and global efforts are needed to mitigate the nitrate concentration in water resources. Some of the water quality protection agencies which prevent nitrate pollution in surface of groundwater are International Nitrogen Initiative and the EU Nitrates Directive. The fact there's an EU Nitrates Directive is kind of hilarious, but I love it. Further research is required into the effects of water Further research is basically said in everything. Further research is required into the effects of the water parameters such as pH, temperature, hardness, salinity, dissolved oxygen content, and other chemical components on the toxicity of nitrate for aquatic species. In addition, aquatic species engage in a variety of biotic interactions, including as competition, parasitism, and predation. In order to comprehend how nitrate contamination affects biotic interaction and natural selection for aquatic organisms, field and laboratory investigations are required. For the human population, the most adverse health effects occur due to intake of nitrate-contaminated drinking water and the increase of endogenous nitrization. Some recent studies have identified subgroups of the population with an increased potentiality of endogenous nitrization. However, a direct method is needed to assess the individuals. New tools are always available for epidemiologic studies to quantify the bacterial DNA, the relative abundance of oral microbiomes, and to characterize them. More studies are also needed to understand the nitrate-reducing capacity of oral... Why are we talking about oral microbiomes? I'm trying to hear about the fish, bro. Hold up. Maven's doing a big reduction. What are you doing a big reduction on, Maven? Hold up. What are you doing a big reduction of? Watch out. Watch out. Okay. Okay. I'm loading up the next paper. But I do, if any of you guys have like a video or something you want me to check out and react to, let me know, because we're reaching that part of the stream. We're getting through there. How long have we been out here? Okay, almost 2 hours. Yeah. Holy. You said 50 fish tanks. Wow, who has 50 fish tanks? Maven. Okay. Maven's got 50 tanks, not all set up. Okay. I sometimes think about doing a podcast based on poor fish keepers, and I remember I'm trying to keep it low key. I mean, you could get a lot of aquarium stuff for free or for low cost if you have the patience. That's really what it is, though. It's like, do you have the patience? Do you have the time to go and pay attention to all the different places that stuff's listed? You know what I mean? Okay, this is another ecological situation. The toxicity and ecological risk of nitrate in rivers based on endocrine disrupting effect. I still haven't done the fry related paper, and I feel like if I don't do it, it's going to be ridiculous, but I laid out such a long path for me to get there. Maven said that's the whole point of my channel. Okay. Nowadays, it's all about the fancy equipment. Is it all about the fancy equipment nowadays? I don't know. I don't know what it's about. I mean, if you're on YouTube, what do you feel like fish keeping is about? A lot of people are into breeding stuff. Are people that into equipment? I mean, I guess like the high-tech planet tank stuff would be the equipment people are most into. Yeah, more like Darian says, more like having a million tanks. That's what I feel like. I feel like YouTube on fish is like, I don't know. There's some equipment, but it's mostly just asking dumbass questions and then just pontificating on them, which is what we do here all the time. So I can't complain. You know? Okay. Let's see what's going on. Toxicity threshold and ecological risk of nitrate in rivers based on endocrine disrupting effects. A case study in the Luan River Basin, China. Oh, okay. Good point. Big Steve said TikTok nerds are all about gadgets. Yo, the TikTok fish keeping is like, there's some cool stuff on there, but oh my God. The TikTok shop is a fucking cancer. Every other video is about something in the fucking TikTok shop. That platform is all about selling random shit. It's actually kind of insane. You have the live streams of people like trying to sell stuff live. They do that on Amazon too, but yeah, on a social media platform like TikTok, it is kind of weird. So I'll give that to you, Big Steve. Darian said, if you don't have every week at least one new species of fish, your YouTube channel is not going to thrive. I want to do more species spotlights on my channel. My thing is, I want to have, this is my ideal goal for any species I do a spotlight on. My goal would be that I've kept the species for at least a year, and that I've bred the species, and that I've raised up those fry, and those fry I've also bred. That would be something that I'd like to make a goal. Yu-Yo said TikTok fish keeping make a scared face. Yeah. Okay. Wait, does this one have a public full article? Wait a second. I might have loaded up something I can't even read. Olé. It's a matter of time before someone gets a Chihiro's tattoo. Yo, is no controversial fish keeping videos come up recently? Like, oh, guys, put me on. I want to know if any interesting videos. Like, we need Bentley to go on another rant. We need another week of content. What's happening? Okay, I can't actually access the full PDF to this thing right now. I put the wrong thing. Bamba said, Steve said Bamba has F-zone on his ankle. That's hilarious. Darian said, my goal is 15 to 2,000 gallon tank with only fish I breed, but some of them I like no one knows how to breed. Oh, which fish do you like that no one knows how to breed? That's my thing. I like breeding fish, and I like breeding fish that are more difficult or less commonly bred. Like, I'm breeding the Procatopus, the schooling landpike killifish, which isn't the most commonly bred fish. I just really like that fish, but yeah, the fact that it's not the most commonly bred is definitely one of the reasons what made me interested in it. Cam says that I like some TikTok fish content, but they do be selling you shit. I don't buy it, so whatever. But the conclusion of this paper that I can't read the whole thing to said, nitrite N has an endocrine disruptive effect to freshwater fish with a sensitive endpoints of reproduction, development, growth, and mortality in early life. So this is a big theme throughout the night is mortality in early life. So I think that's one of the most relevant things when it comes to nitrate toxicity. The final PNEC of nitrate N derived based on endocrine disrupting effects is more accurate than the existing criteria and could better protect aquatic life from nitrate exposure. Okay, gotcha. Okay, let me find the fish fry paper. Cheryl is getting a stoplight tattoo, and Cheryl said, "I'll look awful next to some Chinese dragons or a dizzy devil." Steve said, "Nick, are you going to ACM?" No. No, I don't think so. Is that this Sunday? Let me see. Auction.fish. AC. No. I'm not going this Sunday. Wait. Is ACM the same day as the PVAS all-day auction, or is that on a Saturday? Oh shit. The PVAS spring all-day auction is the same day as ACM? That can't be right? It's usually on a Saturday. Okay, guys, let me know. Do you want to look at the auction items in the PVAS all-day auction, or do you want me to keep reading papers? Let me know. But yeah, the PVAS all day action is 412. It's saying here the ACM meeting is 412. I'm not going to either of them, but that definitely would definitely hurt the attendance. Yurio said keep reading. All right. Give me 1 second. There's a paper I specifically had on the effects of nitrate on fish fry. I'm trying to find that real quick. Can't you say those cheap Walmart plant grow lights are insane? I had to stop using it. It was wild. I was trying to grow algae for my autos. Okay. All right. I think I found it. Yes, I found it. Okay. Perfect. We got the next paper. Yurio wants me to keep reading, so I expect you to explain to me what I'm reading. Darian said, feed a lot and you have algae. Yeah. Ask me how I know. So, who likes Gadaeids? Because this paper is centered around Scyphia lermei, which is a Gadaeid. If you're not familiar, here's a picture of it. And I'm not super into libraries in general. I did have some Xenatoka dodori. I do actually still have some. That is a mean ass fish. That is a Gadaeid. I thought they were pretty. Turns out they're a pretty big pain in the ass. Okay, they're menaces. I'm not gonna lie, but endangered. Is it karma? Don't ask me. Kanjan said, that's what I'm saying. I don't got money for a light timer. Out of touch. Oh my gosh. Big Steve said, sure enough, same day. Okay, if you guys hang in with me, we'll look at what's. It's still kind of ahead of time. So this Sunday is the PVAS all day auction. So it's a little bit ahead of it, but we'll peruse real quickly through the items that are in the auction so far. Definitely. Okay, let me just pull up this one. Maybe so. My lights are normally on from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. or later, so I have a shit ton of algae eaters. And you said, thanks, legend. Steve said that's extra dumb. So I think, if I remember correctly, I believe the PVAS all-day auction was scheduled to be on a Saturday, and then it changed at some point, because I remember there, because ASCM is having our first auction on the 19th. So I remember we thought originally the PVAS all-day auction was going to be a different date, and then we noticed that it changed. So I think that's what I'm remembering, is that it was Saturday originally, and it was earlier in the month. But okay, here we go. Realistic I like this. Realistic nitrate concentrations diminish reproductive indicators in Scyphia lurmae, an endemic species in a critical endangered status. I like this because realistic. I like this because it's an actual freshwater fish I can imagine. And also, I can think about the implications of an endangered fish species where increasing nitrate levels due to pollution from things like farming and stuff can decrease the amount of viable fry that make it. I can actually conceive of why that might matter. Darian said, same as me, I keep lights like real time at Amazon around 12 hours and 50 plus auto sinkless inside. There's almost no algae. Kendra said, I have an LED and shop lights from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but I was adding the grow light to my autos and it was too much. Cheryl said, I love shop lights, especially when they come with a fish rack and a bunch of 20 longs. The Barina lights have been doing very well for me in all the tanks I use them in. So Gadeanae is a subfamily of critically endangered fish native to central Mexico. Populations of Scyphia lurmae, a species belonging to this subfamily, have significantly decreased in the past 2 decades. A previous study showing that S. lurmae is sensitive to acute nitrate and nitrogen NO3- exposure, leading to noticeable changes in both behavioral and histopathological bioindicators. The aim herein was to determine the vulnerability of these fish to NO3- exposure at realistic concentrations registered in freshwater ecosystems. In central Mexico, where species were historically reported. Offspring of S. lurmae were chronically exposed during 60 days to concentrations of 5, 10, and 20 milligrams of nitrate a liter, with 2 milligrams of nitrate a liter used as a reference value. Survival rate, feeding behavior, aquatic surface respiration, body growth, scaled mass index, immature red blood cells, as well as histopathological changes as branchial, hepatic, and gonadal tissues were evaluated. Additionally, the study analyzed water quality in freshwater ecosystems where the fish presently persist. The results showed decreased survival as nitrate concentration increased. All right, let's get into it then. The materials and the methods. Sounds like a cool paper. Yes, I do think this is going to be a cool one. I'm putting the link to it in the chat. And let me replace the pinned thing. I try and get some interesting ones every now and then. This is coming out of... Where is this coming from? I don't see the institution listed at the top. There's quite a lot of authors, and this is 2024, September 9th. Given that... Okay, I'll read a little bit of the introduction. Nitrogen is one of the more widespread pollutants in aquatic ecosystems, which appears as ammonia, ammonium nitrite, and nitrate. Because NO3 shows high persistence and solubility, that's nitrate, is the most stable and common form of inorganic nitrogen in natural ecosystems. Elevated nitrate concentrations in freshwater ecosystems are toxic to aquatic organisms. Although the precise physiological mechanisms underlying these effects have not been widely described, the main consequence of nitrate exposure is reduction of oxygen transport produced by methemoglobinemia. God damn. All right, I have to Google it if I have to Google the phonetic pronunciation. Okay, methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobinemia. Okay. Methemoglobinemia. That's as close as I'm gonna get. Holy. Okay. Gill damage. I just hear Beth. That's all I hear. What's up, Paper Reaver? How's it going, couple fish? Hope you're doing well. I'm just doing the meth. And gill damage. The branchial tissue protects itself from nitrate by cell hyperplasia, hyperemia, and lamellar fusion. These processes reduce the available surface for gas exchange, promoting behavioral and physiological compensatory mechanisms such as aquatic surface respiration and increased release of splenic red blood cells. Chronic exposure to NO3 concentrations lead to permanent gill damage, decreased body growth, and endocrine disruption, which we've heard a lot about tonight, endocrine disruption. Nitrate sensitivity is species specific and could be related to body size, feeding habits, reproductive strategy, detoxifying abilities, and sex. Moreover, nitrate sensitivity could be associated with the ontogenic stage during which exposure occurs. All this makes sense since several papers that we've read have referenced body size as well as the age of the fish. So, juvenile and fry fish being more sensitive. A couple of fish said, my local fish friend's mycobacteria infection has progressed to nerve granuloma up his arm. No amputation yet, but still no ID on the actual infection. Oh, fantastic. I'm kind of terrified. Meth is cheaper than the hobby, Darian says. And Camden says, my neighbors are making plenty of money making it. A couple of fish that got it from a fish tank. I was hoping that he didn't, but I kind of, we're all kind of scared now. Am I gonna die tomorrow? I hope that he gets better. That sounds terrible. The Goodyeana subfamily comprises a group of endemic fish representative of central Mexico, characterized by interfertilization, sex dimorphism, complex courtship, and matrotrophy. Matrotrophy. I gotta look that up. MATRO trophy, the continuous supply of nutrients from a parent to offspring during digestion, moving beyond initial yolk resources. That's what the definition of that is, apparently, according to the AI summary. Darian said, haha, yes, but not using anything as I am becoming a father soon and keeping fish. And a car is not going to work. That's why I'm dry for now. Okay, good for you. Good for you. Okay, most Goodyead species are in critical conservation status. Although several anthropic impacts could explain their diminished distribution and survival, pollution is a critical factor. A couple of fish that he just past the 1 year mark. A 1 year with this infection? Jesus. That's crazy. Nitrate nitrogen, NO3-N, concentrations recorded in springs with low human impact were 0.015 milligrams a liter. Monitoring studies at Zucapu, Pasicura, Uria, and Coizio lakes have reported 0.08 to 3.9 milligrams of nitrate a liter, while the Lerma Basin showed 0.23 to 30 milligrams of nitrate a liter. In Mexico, the permissible limit for sewage discharges into freshwater bodies is 15 milligrams a liter of total nitrogen as a daily average, and there are no regulatory limits for NO3-N according to the World Health Organization guideline. 11 milligrams of nitrate is permissible for human consumption. Nevertheless, the negative effects of nitrate on aquatic ecosystems can begin to occur at lower concentrations. A couple of fish said he's still got 10 plus tanks and is working on opening a store. He's been a trooper. That is kind of crazy. Shout out to him. Given that S. lermae has vanished from most freshwater bodies in central Mexico, where pollution levels have risen, and considering a prior study showing its sensitivity to elevated nitrate concentrations, our hypothesis was that prolonged exposure to sublethal but environmentally plausible nitrate concentrations might induce changes in behavioral and physiological indicators even after a short exposure periods. To test this hypothesis, offspring of the species were chronically exposed to a reference value and rising nitrate concentrations during 60-day treatments. So this is a pretty invested paper. 60-day treatments. That's a lot of work. Their survival, feeding behavior, ASR, body growth, scaled mass index, and number of immature red blood cells, as well as branchial hepatic and gonadal histology were evaluated. Additionally, because there are no recent reports in freshwater ecosystems where they're currently distributed, this study analyzed the nitrate concentrations on the La Benzita Spring, Chapultepec Spring, and the Zacupu Lake. Because many of you are only listening to me talk, none of you know how much I just butchered the pronunciation of those words. The result of this study could offer valuable insight into the possible cause of reduction and disappearance of vulnerable and endemic species from freshwater habitats in central Mexico with high nitrate contamination. So let's see what they got into here. Materials and the methods. Maven is dealing with something after 6 months. I didn't realize that, Maven. That's crazy. A couple fish said, Maven, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I hope everything is figured out for you soon. I hope so as well. Materials and methods. During 2022, 30 gravid S. lerme females were captured from Zacupu Lake, central Mexico. And they have the coordinates there if any of you feel like going on a trip. God damn it, I just clicked one of the references and I lost my place. Holy, give me 1 second. See, I try to joke around and then look what happens. Okay, 30 gravid females were captured with aluminum mesh minnow traps. Females were transported in bags containing water from the collection site and acclimated to laboratory conditions. In order to update reference water quality where they remain in the lake, they evaluated a couple other locations in September 2023 near the end of the rainy season. The following water parameters were recorded using a multi-parameter probe, Okaton trademark, Sydney, Australia, hydrogen potential, the pH, and dissolved oxygen and water temperature. So here we see a map of where they went around, the geographic location of the 3 basins and study sites in central Mexico that they checked out. Water samples were transported to the laboratory to determine the concentrations of ammonium nitrogen, NH4 mycin, nitrite nitrogen, NO2 mycin, and NO3 mycin, the nitrates, by colorimetric methods. They acclimated the gravid females for 15 days in 120-liter aquarium tanks. Loading capacity is 6 liters per fish under a 12 light and dark photo period. 12-hour light and dark photo period. Acclimation tanks were loaded using tap water with polypropylene sediment strain, activated carbon, ultrafiltration membrane, and ultraviolet light. God damn, it maintained at 22 plus 0.5 degrees Celsius. A pH is 7. Sheesh. And 7 plus or minus 0.5 milligrams a liter dissolved oxygen. The aquariums were artificially enriched to avoid stress and limit fry cannibalism. Females were fed twice a day with commercial Tetra flakes and Artemia SP. Their health was monitored daily until the birth of their offspring. At 1 to 7 postnatal days, a total of 120 S. lerme fry were randomly assigned to 12 new 15-liter aquariums, 10 fish per aquarium, 1.5 liters per fish, and acclimated for 3 weeks, during which they were fed ad libitum with Artemia SP and commercial flakes. What the fed ad libitum? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. As much or as often as necessary or desired. Feeding without restriction. According to the performer's wish. Okay, they fed them as much as they fucking wanted. Got it. During the entire acclimation and experimental period, a semi-static experimental system was maintained at the same laboratory conditions previously described. Moon said, I had to fight doctors for 3 months before they believed me when I told them what it was. Jesus. Yeah. There's nothing harder than trying to figure out why the hell you're sick and not getting any better. Seriously. Temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, salinity, total dissolved solids, and electrical conductivity was recorded every 72 hours with a multi-parameter probe. In addition, NH4 mycin, NO2 mycin, and NO3 mycin were measured as aforementioned. At 3 weeks of age, the offspring... I just clicked the reference again. It just took me to the bottom of the whole thing. I will never learn. At 3 weeks of age, the offspring's body mass and length were measured using an analytical balance and a vernier caliper. Okay. The experiment began 1 week after morphological measures were taken and lasted 60 days. Once nitrate was added and dissolved, organism survival was determined every 24 hours. The criterion to confirm mortality was an absent response to mechanical stimulus. The organisms were fed daily with commercial flakes at 10% of the biomass per aquarium. Web camera recordings were used to evaluate the ASR and feeding behavior every 24 hours for 20 minutes at 9 a.m. The ASR was evaluated during the first 5 minutes of recording, counting the number of organisms distributed 5 centimeters below the water's surface. Feeding behavior was evaluated during the remaining 15 minutes of recording by quantifying the latency to detect food, the number of feeding fish, and food consumption. James said, I totally understand that. I finally got a referral today to the pain clinic. I have a degeneration in my C5 and C6. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Darius said you're in the US. I do think that, well, I'm in the US. I do think Jacob, Jam, and Maven are also in the US. Okay. Oh god. At the end of the experiment, surviving fish were euthanized using an overdose of benzocaine anesthetic, and their body mass as well as standard length were recorded as described. Yeah, this is a super endangered fish, so we may as well slaughter them. Absolute growth, specific growth, and scaled mass index were evaluated according to the following equations. Darian said, I'm used to free health, so yeah, I got it. I got the, when you asked if you're in the US, I was like, this guy, he's so healthy, huh? Just rub it in. All right. Yo said, no, the fish is, you always get to the point. There's always a point in these papers where they're like, yeah, we studied these fish and then we fucking killed them. And then we weighed their corpses and measured their dead, lifeless bodies. Like, there always comes a point in these papers where they get to that, and you're just like, God damn it! Did you really have to? Did you really have to? But it almost always comes. So they overdosed them with benzocaine anesthetic, 75 milligrams a liter, and their body masses as well as standard lengths were recorded. Yurio said this diabolical behavior, 1 out of 10 paper. I'll be like, we've been reading a decent amount of papers on stream, and chat, chime in if I'm wrong, or replay crew comment if I'm wrong, but they almost always kill all the fish. Like, they always are slaughtering these things. 18 fish per control and treatment condition, 3 males and 3 females per replicate, except for the 20 milligrams a liter nitrate, where only 6 males and 5 females survived, were randomly selected for hematological and histological analysis. A blood sample was taken from the base of the caudal fin to quantify the number of immature red blood cells. A total of 2,000 cells per organism were quantified in a bright field microscope at 1,000x magnification in a Leica DM3000. For histological analysis, fish were fixed in a Buin solution at 4 degrees Celsius for 48 hours and processed following this procedure. It's the only way, JP said, slaughtering the fish. Briefly, fish were longitudinally sectioned at 5 micrometers and stained with hematoxylin and eosin for morphometric gill analyses. All right, let's get into the results. So. All right. Okay, you can always do your own stream if this one isn't up to par. Who said it's not up to par? Let's fight. Let's fight. We gotta do a boxing match. Darren said, imagine they make tests on koi and wait until they die. Yeah, that could take a while. Good point. Kill them. Fuck it. The water habitat Essilorme registered during September 2023 presented a tendency for alkalinity of a pH of 77.8 and a mean temperature of 20.6 plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius and a mean dissolved oxygen of 6.11 plus or minus 0.66 milligrams a liter. Significant differences were found in temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, nitrate, and NH4 mass-in among each distribution site. Aquarium water was similar for all experimental conditions except for those parameters linked to the nitrate concentration, such as salinity, conductivity, and total dissolved compounds. Let's look at the survival rate. Okay, all this setup for us to finally see what the hell is going on. Survival diminished as nitrate concentrations and exposure time increased, but only 20 milligrams of a liter of nitrate was different from the control condition. At the end of the experiment, 97, 90%, 80%, and 37% of the population survived at 2, 5, 10, and 20 milligrams a liter. God damn. 37%? Jesus. That's not a good survival rate. I guess you may as well finish off the rest of that point. They got a chart of that here. You can see that. An effective NO3 minus N concentration and exposure period was observed on the latency to food consumption. At 5 and 10 milligrams a liter, an increased latency for food detection was observed during the last period, while at 20 milligrams, an increment was observed from the first observation period. Latency for food detection was reduced as exposure time increased. No effect was observed on the number of fish actively responsive to food. Aquatic surface respiration increased as nitrate concentration and exposure time augmented. Food consumption was decreased only at 20 milligrams a liter compared to the control group. No difference in body growth or the scaled mass index were observed at the different nitrate concentrations, sex, or interaction. The nitrate exposure, sex, or their interaction did not affect the number of immature red blood cells. Nitrate nitrogen concentration diminished the Gill PAGE index up to 5 milligrams a liter of nitrate. An effect of sex was evident at 10 and 20 milligrams a liter. Females showed a lower PAGE index than males, and they have some pictures here of the Gill histomorphometric alterations at ecologically relevant nitrate concentrations. Freaky. Liver damage tissue index also showed differences from the control group at distinct nitrate concentrations. At 5 and 10 milligrams a liter, LDTI increased, while at 20 milligrams a liter, this indicator diminished. Dara said Stalingrad battle survival rates, and you said rip fish. Yeah, the studies don't go well for the fish. An effective sex was observed. Like, we were reading a paper the other day, it was just like of killifish and their mating habits, and they slaughtered all them at the end of that for no reason. What's up, Sutton? How's it going? Hope you're doing all right. Okay. Because females were more sensitive than males, ovarian histology was evaluated. Females from all experimental groups were at the same privilegogenic gonadal stage 3. Nitrate nitrogen at 10 and 20 milligrams a liter decreased the density of stage 3 oocytes compared to the control group. Okay. Chronic exposure to nitrate concentrations diminished the Scyphia lermae survival. The distribution of this fish has been reduced during the last 20 years, probably increased to anthropogenic contamination. Nitrates constitute a pollution source that reduces the survival of sensitive fish species. The offspring were exposed to 5, 10, and 20 milligrams a liter of nitrate, as well as a control concentration of 2 milligrams a liter. This value was similar to the highest concentration registered at freshwater ecosystems where this fish still remained. It's noteworthy that this value was measured during the raining season, a period characterized by heightened eutrophication in waterways due to runoff carrying nitrogen and phosphorus from agricultural and fossil fuel sources into freshwater ecosystems. At 20 milligrams a liter, the nitrates decreased the survival during the first 20 days of exposure. Only 37% of all fish remained at the end of the experiment after 60 days. At 10 milligrams a liter, 80% of the fish survived. Considering that the permissible limit for sewage discharges into freshwater fish is 50 milligrams a liter of total nitrogen, and 11 milligrams a liter is acceptable for human consumption, our results suggest that these parameters are well above the critical threshold for sensitive fish species and endangered or long-term survival. This idea is supported by evidence showing that uncontrollable discharges of municipal wastewater played a critical role in the water quality degradation of freshwater systems. I mean, if the acceptable limit is 15 milligrams a liter of sewage discharges, and at 20 milligrams a liter, they got a 37% survival rate after 60. That's only after 60 days, you know? The longer they were exposed to it, the worse the survival got. So it kind of does paint a very clear picture of a potential reason this fish is endangered. The lowest nitrate concentration caused alterations in their feeding behavior without modifying their body growth. The results showed that prolonged exposure to nitrates at all the concentrations tested increased the latency to feeding behavior. At 20 milligrams a liter, feeding was altered starting from the first observation period. Exposure to 20 milligrams a liter also diminished the amount of food digested. When Sutton said, "Hope everyone's well," Uriel replied, "Nope, they killed all the fish, Sutton, in this study. I'm devastated." They also increased their aquatic surface respiration and showed gilled histomorphometric alterations at the lowest NO3-N concentrations. Aquatic surface respiration is an early indicator of low oxygen consumption caused by diminished hemoglobin or branchial damage. Hemoglobin is a blood protein that transports oxygen from gills to the rest of the body. Toxic nitrate concentrations oxidize hemoglobin to methemoglobin, a protein unable to transport oxygen efficiently. The initial mechanisms to increase oxygen exchange include splenic erythrocyte release and their accumulation in the gills (hyperemia), which increases the proportion of immature red blood cells circulating in the blood. Persistent toxic concentrations produce sequential gill compensatory and degenerative mechanisms such as hyperplasia and lamellar fusion. No changes were observed in immature red blood cells between the control and treatment groups at the end of the experiment. However, the gill histomorphometric index showed a diminished page, the proportion of total epithelial available for gas exchange at all treatment conditions. These results suggest that even the lowest nitrate concentration, 5 milligrams, was high enough to trigger structural compensatory and degenerative branchial alterations. As previously shown, blood-associated compensatory mechanisms could occur during early nitrate exposure. At 20 milligrams a liter of nitrate, females showed a greater reduction in pH than males, which suggests that females are more susceptible to nitrates than males. The LDTI, which includes the hepatocyte nuclear area and density, was increased at 5 and 10 milligrams a liter, but decreased at 20 milligrams a liter. An increased LDTI reflects cell proliferation and nuclear hepatocyte hypertrophy, early compensatory mechanisms that raise metabolic and transcriptional activity oriented to increased detoxification processes. A decreased LDTI denotes degenerative changes associated with reduced hepatocyte activity and death. The results suggest that NO3 concentrations up to 5 milligrams induce liver changes, which could be reversible if environmental conditions are better, while 20 milligrams a liter of nitrate could produce irreversible changes. Again, the female showed an increased hepatocyte nuclear area and density at 5 milligrams. Given that this is a viviparous species, reproduction may require increased liver activity to synthesize molecules such as vitellogen, as previously indicated. Thus, a trade-off to preserve reproductive function may allow liver damage. Previous studies suggest that sex-associated differences in liver alterations could be related to differential absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of toxic substances. To evaluate if augmented liver alterations in females may be related to reproductive functions, germinal cells were analyzed in ovarian sections. I don't know about you, but I've definitely experienced where a certain sex of a fish seems to be more sensitive than another. So I'm putting that in the back of my head as a data point for future. Scyphia lermae is a viviparous species in which fertilization and embryonic development occur in the ovary, and sexual maturity is reached at approximately 29.5 plus or minus 5.7 millimeters of body length. Females in each reproductive period have 6 to 23 offspring, which is the lowest fertility value. Compared with other Guyanese species in Zakabu Lake, they showed an average body length of 21.7 millimeters, which suggests they're sexually immature and supports the absence of vitellogenic oocytes. Okay. Conclusion. This study shows that exposure to ecologically relevant freshwater nitrate concentrations promoted compensatory and degenerative changes in the Scyphia even after brief exposure periods. Chronic exposure over 60 days resulted in decreased survival associated with behavioral, branchial, and hepatic alterations. Additionally, exposure to different nitrate concentrations diminished early indicators of reproductive investment in the females. These findings underscored the importance of reevaluating guidelines governing wastewater discharges into freshwater ecosystems to safeguard the health of vulnerable endemic fish species. Viewer said, I'm making crispy potatoes at 4 a.m. while listening to this. Bro, what's up with you guys and like you and like Mick? Like, do you guys ever sleep? Ever? Sometimes Mick be in here like, yes, it's 5 a.m. I just made myself some eggs on toast. I'm like, bro, have you ever considered, going to sleep? Ever? 5 a.m. Here I am. I'm in the team. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. In the team. That was a good one. What do you guys think? I'm trying to decide. Do we have time for one more? Can I find one more? Darian said, Yo, you're in the UK? Yeah, where you at, man? We're trying to find out. We gotta put you to bed. JP said Swedish team. You said 1 out of 10 study. What? What? Because they slaughtered the fish for science. Oh, please. Come on, it's for science. You really have a problem with that? Swedish team. Could be Swedish team. What do you think? Do we have time for one more? I'm trying to consider. One more. Okay, I'm like looking through. This is nitrite. I need nitrate. Not nitrite. Okay, yours says in the UK. Come on, man. You gotta go to sleep. No, I'm joking. Don't go to sleep. Stay with us forever. It's fine. What's the problem? Ah! Wait. I think I found it. Oh my god, I found it. Okay. This is a paper I've been wanting to read all night. Darren said, "Can we have a study on if fish will have more babies if they're on THC?" You know what's funny? We have read a paper about THC in fish on stream before. They were trying to use THC as a way to decrease stress in fish when shipping them. And I'm trying to remember. I don't think it ended up being worth it. It was like someone that was trying to develop a product, so it was a commercial purpose that the paper was being done. But it has come up. I'm just saying, it has come up. Okay, I gotta go. Wait, I gotta grab. I'm gonna grab a little water real quick. But real quickly, when I get back, we're gonna read this one, which I wanted to read. This is from 2024. And it's the influence of water nitrate concentration combined with elevated temperature on rainbow trout in experimental aquaponic setup. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Say something crazy in the chat for me to respond to, okay, when I get back. A smart person said CBD for fish, right? Not THC. Actually, I don't remember. You could be right about that. It was some kind of weed product. Give me 1 second, smart person. All right. This is what's going to get me through this last paper. If you got a drink of water, coffee, whatever, I'm going to do a quick clink. This is what I got to wake up a little for this last one, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Coffee is like, it tastes so burnt, man. Whew. What the hell? Yo, I said leave something crazy in the chat for me to respond to when I got back. I forgot I said that. I saw Darian said hookers and cocaine for fish, and they all live happy for a long time. Jacob said, I got called a loser today. A grown-ass loser because I didn't tell some bitch where I got my Pokemon cards at. There's a lot of unpack there. At first, I was like, damn, why does someone call you a loser? Like, fuck them. But I gotta be honest. Why didn't you tell them where you got the Pokemon cards at? I'm just curious. Like, this is just something I'm not familiar with. Is there, like, secret Pokemon card supplies? Like, I'm legitimately asking. Ever been bow fishing? I've been fishing, quote unquote, before a long time ago when I was a kid. My dad took me fishing, but no, I've not been bow fishing, and I'm probably due to go fishing again. Jacob said because their boyfriend be scalping them. Ah, they're scalpers. Okay, then yeah, fuck them. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Are we locked in for the last paper of the stream? If there's anything you'll want me to look at video wise or whatever, put it in the live stream discussion channel in the Discord. Okay, and if you want me to react to anything, I'll look at the live stream discussion channel in the Discord, and if I'm interested, we will react. We will watch. Last time we did Patty's Aquatics video on ditching dirted tanks, for an example. Okay, locked in. What's up, She Savage? Cichlids. The influence of water nitrate concentration combined with elevated temperature on rainbow trout Oncorhynchus micus, an experimental aquaponic setup. This is what the rainbow trout look like for those unaware, aka me. And I'll read a little bit of the abstract, which says, intensive recirculating systems are a fast developing sector of aquaculture. While several warm water fish have been reared in aquaponics, almost no data are available for cold water species. The determination of nitrate toxicity thresholds in recirculating aquaculture is crucial. Different pollutants are typically more toxic at elevated temperatures. We investigated the performance of these rainbow trout under 2 different nitrate levels and 2 temperatures. We applied a 2x2 factorial design where fish were exposed to nitrate concentrations of 40 or 110 milligrams a liter of nitrate and to temperatures of 17 degrees Celsius or 21 degrees Celsius for 20 days. This study focused on understanding the physiological response of rainbow trout to relatively low nitrates under heat stress in order to investigate the feasibility of integrating the species into commercial aquaponics. Now, this is where we get into, they say nitrate sensitivity is very species specific. The previous recommendations were a lot lower than 40 or 110 milligrams a liter and some of the other things we read. So let's see what's going on here. Let's look at the materials and methods. Excuse me. So, we got some pictures here too. Perfect. The fish were obtained from the Pella Hydrobiological Slate Hatchery in Greece. The water temperature of the facility was 13 degrees Celsius. Okay, 13.5 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. I have to. I'm sorry. Okay, 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Jeez, a little chilly. After transportation, they're randomly distributed into 8 rectangular aquariums that are 55 centimeters by 35 centimeters by 42 centimeters, 80 liters, filled with water from supplementary water tanks of the adjacent aquaponics system. The aquaria contained a water pump for water circulation and biological filter and air stone. The aquaria were placed inside a pilot greenhouse at the Institute of Plant Breeding and Genetic Resources. The experimental greenhouse included 2 spaces, one above ground for plant production and one below ground for fish production, following a vertical production approach to achieve better land and energy use efficiency. The water temperature in the aquarium was maintained at 16.9 plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius, and the fish were acclimated for 2 weeks to adapt to the conditions of the aquarium. The dissolved oxygen content was measured daily using a portable dissolved oxygen meter. Ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate concentration were checked twice daily using test kits from Tetra Mel, Germany, and always maintained at levels below 0.25 milligrams a liter, 0.25 milligrams a liter, and 30 milligrams a liter, respectively, for ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, conducting water exchanges 20% every day using water from the supplementary aquaponic tanks that had nitrate levels of 22 to 25 milligrams a liter. Each aquarium contained 20 fish with a mean initial weight of about 7.8 grams and a mean length of 8.6 centimeters, yielding a stocking density of 1.9 grams a liter and 0.25 specimens per liter. The fish were fed commercial 2.5 millimeter commercial pellets at a daily ration of 1 to 2% of their body weight. Throughout the acclimation period, the photoperiod was 14 hours of light and 10 hours of dark. After 2 weeks of acclimation, the fish appeared to be well adapted, absence of mortality, and agonistic behavior, active food capturing, and swimming. Thus, the experiment was started. All biofilters were fully capable of complete nitrification at the beginning of the study. So we have a good setup here. We got our fish. They acclimated them for a few weeks beforehand. We got cycled aquariums. There's an absence of mortality and agonistic behavior. Where could this go wrong? Trial design. Uriel, hold on to your breakfast. 8 aquaria were selected for 4 treatments with 2 replicates for each treatment. Yeah, we got some replicates in here. Let's go. The different treatments were as follows. 2 temperatures, 17.1 and 21.08 degrees Celsius. 2 nitrate levels, 38 milligrams a liter of nitrate and 112 milligrams a liter of nitrate. What's up, Ben? Ben said fish tank. Fish tank, fish tank, fish tank. Ben the legend in the chat. What's up, Ben? Hope you're doing well. What's up, George? How's it going? Okay. The fish objected to 17.1 Celsius and 38 milligrams a liter of nitrate were designated as the control group. So 17 degrees Celsius and 38 milligrams a liter of nitrate, that's the control. At 21 degrees Celsius temperature treatment, the water was kept at a constant temperature using an electronic aquarium heater. At the beginning of the experimental procedure, the water was heated at a rate of 0.1 degrees per hour. TAN and nitrite were measured twice every day during the trial, and their levels were always below 0.25 milligrams a liter, even before the water changes. The nitrate concentrations were initially adjusted in the high nitrate treatment, a rate of 6 milligrams a liter per hour, adding sodium nitrate and a small water change of about 3 liters, which was performed daily to keep the nitrate concentrations inside the desired range. Camjen said, Ben, how come I never see you and other fish creators on YouTube? Yo, Ben is a In My Tanks exclusive. Come on. But if I go on any lives on TikTok, like if I join someone's live and go up on stage on TikTok, Ben's always in the chat. I'm not gonna lie. He be on other people's things. But more on TikTok, I feel like. 6 samplings were performed for gene expression at 1 hour, 5 hour, 24 hour, day 4, day 7, and day 15 after temperature and nitrates reached the selected levels in the experimental group. After 20 days, the last samplings were conducted to calculate the condition, growth rate, and feed conversion. At all samplings, 2 fish from each aquarium were randomly sampled. Therefore, a total of 4 specimens from every treatment were chosen for gene expression and enzymatic activity measurements. I'm waiting for when they say they slaughtered all the fish at the end of this. And Ben again in the chat. Wait, Ben changed his profile picture midway. It's the same username, but he changed the profile picture to fuck Trump. Holy. Yo, shout out to Ben. Yo. Let's go. We got the woke king in the chat. Appreciate you. Okay. I'm trying to see if they slaughtered the fish. Hold up. Randomly captured fish were placed in a 30-liter bucket containing water from their aquarium and an air stone, which kept oxygen levels high. Eugenol was added to bucket at a concentration of 100 milligrams a liter until it... Yo, I'm sorry. Let me look up what this is real quick, just so you get... So, EUGENOL, eugenol, an aromatic liquid found in several natural essential oils. So, they added that at 99% purity to the bucket at a concentration of 100 milligrams a liter until the animals were totally anesthetized. Afterwards, the fish were killed via spinal cord cutting. Then the fish were anatomized, and their livers were dissected. A small piece of the liver, approximately 50 milligrams, was used for RNA extraction, and the remaining tissue was flash frozen at liquid nitrogen and subsequently stored at negative 80 degrees Celsius for weight and length measurements. The same procedure of anesthetizing was applied. Oh man, that was... Yes, smart person says anesthetic, right? Yes. This is even more crazy. They didn't just... They gave us a full snuff film breakdown of exactly how they slaughtered the fish. They cut the spinal cord. They dissected the livers, extracted the RNA, and flash froze the rest of the tissue in liquid nitrogen. To measure the length and weight. Man, it's crazy. Whew. Let's look at the results. Trout is for barbecue, so expected. Yeah, I mean, these fish were always going to be killed, let's be honest. Yeah, fish tank. Ben, I live in America and I can't get a free fish tank. Bro, you can get a free fish tank. I got you. Come to the ASCM auction. Results. Condition, weight, SGR, FCR, and the survival of rainbow trout subjected for 20 days to 4 treatments are summarized. Survival was 100% in all groups. The final condition was significantly affected by both examined factors and their interaction. We'll see what's going on here. I'm not looking at the gene expression. Enzymatic activities of the liver. Citrate synthase enzymatic activity was generally similar or significantly increased compared to the control treatment. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to read the conclusion because my fatigue is causing me to slip in my ability to comprehend the letters on the page. Exposure to 110 milligrams a liter of nitrate at low temperature and increased the glycolytic potential in unregulated citrate synthase gene expression. In 17 hours, increased oxidation, which indicates a greater reliance on lipid oxidation, possibly compensating for reduced ATP synthesis from aerobic glycosis. The liver's regulation of glucose utilization was affected with reduced glucanase expression in warm-subjected trout. Prolonged exposure to 21 degrees Celsius under 110 milligrams per liter nitrate appears to enhance glycolytic and lipid oxidation pathways in the rainbow trout. High temperatures combined with high nitrates led to metabolic and possibly cardiorespiratory system readjustments to sufficiently cover the increased energetic and oxygen supply demands of the trout. The aforementioned modifications did not lead to worse growth or fitness. Interestingly, exposure at 21 degrees Celsius at low nitrate levels showed no significant metabolic alterations, suggesting that high temperatures and low nitrate conditions may not necessitate metabolic reorganization. Elevated temperature induced antioxidant defense mechanisms, and similar patterns were observed under high nitrate levels at both 17 degrees Celsius and 21 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, warm subjected fish at high nitrate levels displayed a comparable inflammatory response with 70H and 21L fish, 100% survival and slight difference in heat shock response. These observations provide evidence of a tolerance to tested factors and their synergies in rainbow trout, although feed utilization and growth were depressed at 21 degrees Celsius. We should point out that although our work is based on a 3-week trial, the results clearly suggest that temperature of 21 degrees Celsius, when partially present in RAS systems containing nitrate of 110 milligrams, will not threaten the survival of fingerling rainbow trout, but can yield to remarkably lower biomass. Recent studies on rainbow trout juveniles have shown that temperature acclimation of fish can increase survival under heat stress and increase the upper limit of heat tolerances. Therefore, a more gradual temperature increased rate could have led to better growth and or health response of fish exposed to 21 degrees Celsius. Yo said, alright, we need a wholesome study where they rescue the fish. It's not coming, bro. It's absolutely not coming. They're not rescuing the fish. I hate to tell you. JP said no mercy. Smart person said maybe we do need that THC fish study. Yo, there's one on... I had one specifically on its effects on fish fry. And I'm trying to find it because that was one of the main ones I wanted to talk about. And I had all my links set up ahead of time. And now that I'm here, I'm lost. I'm lost. No one to tell me where to go. Okay. I mean, what do you guys think of nitrate by now? Are we rocking with the nitrate or what? By the way, shout out Mexicali Fish Keeper. I saw he's starting a new podcast. I think it might be in Spanish, but El Sofa del Acurista. Looks like it's gonna be a fun podcast. Looks like it's 3 people. You guys should check it out. I just randomly saw a thing for it. JP said, I'm up 300 XP. Gonna get a keychain, please. Bro, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? XP? What does this mean? I don't know what this means. I'll be honest. XP, experience points. You tell me where Jacob bought his Pokemon cards, and we'll talk about a keychain. How about that? I feel like it's a relatively fair trade. Yeah, okay. I'll be honest, I cannot find the one paper on Fry I wanted to read, but I feel like we've read enough papers for tonight. A lot of them did reference body size and things related to that, so I feel like I did get the point across on that front, but it's kind of bothering me that I can't find the exact one I wanted to do. Darian said experience. Yeah, okay. I think I'm wrapped up on papers. I'm trying to think. Anything else we got to talk about? Oh damn, we're gonna make it to 3 hours. Anything else to talk about? How do you guys feel? Good crop of papers. I thought it was kind of interesting. The only thing that's bothering me is I'm not finding this Fry paper. That is bothering me because I wanted to talk about that, but I'm gonna have to do a follow up. I'm about to do a follow up one where I can find it. They did reference the body size and stuff like that, but there's like this specific one. Darian said something different from the other lives. I love it. You read us a good papers. Appreciate you. Hey, look, we do this. You may not be familiar with our game, but we do this regularly. I'm starting to consistently put the thumbnail as research reads, but we read research papers on stream all the time. So if you missed them, you can always go back. Just look at the title. It has something to do with like something ridiculously boring that no one's interested in. It's probably a research paper reading stream. We've done some on Killifish. Yeah, Killifish of the Old World. That was a good time. Yeah, research time. If I say research, yeah, we do this a lot. JP said deep dives are standard. JP said I love these kind of papers. Always down to learn. I just want to make sure that do you guys feel like I covered the title of the live stream? Because I don't want to be clickbaiting. I feel like we there are questions. I feel like we covered the title. You know, I'm trying to be the change I want to see in the world. So I try and do these like research paper reading on my own. I don't have a science background. I don't understand that much. But sometimes people in the chat can help me out. Plus, I wanted to listen to live streams like this. There weren't that many, so I said, well, I'll just read research papers on live stream, and you know, people will help me out, and we'll see what we do. Jacob said, I believe so. Okay, you guys think? If you guys think we covered the questions in the title, then we're good. We're totally good. You said thank you for reading the papers, of course. And like I said, we've done this a couple of times. Not a couple of times. We've done this a lot on here. So if you missed them, you can always go back. Because I think it's something good. What I like the most about reading the papers on here is that, well, one, like I've already said, there are people that do have a more science background sometimes in the chat that can kind of explain things as we go around. But two, we kind of all get more used to what a research paper is and the methods behind them. And then that helps us evaluate in the future. Like, say an article comes out and it's like, hey, research shows XYZ. You know, slowly as we read more and more of these things, we're becoming more equipped to kind of go into a paper, look at the materials and methods, and evaluate whether or not simple things like, oh, sample size. What variables did they look at? What does this prove and not prove? And I think as we've been doing this over time, I feel like I'm slowly getting better at being like, okay, I can immediately tell when a paper has really put in the work to make sure that they're covering their bases to actually prove something. You know what I mean? But the data point is a data point at the end of the day. Jacob said, I understood everything about ATP synthesis. Okay, tell us what you learned then based on that. Jacob said, I love plants. I totally geek out. I'm going to cry when I can't do plant biology in class anymore. JP Jeffries said, ready for the certified courses to come out. What's up, Shelby? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. I did get a response from the Pisces people, so appreciate you for sending me the link for that. Sheesh. He said they make sure all the fish don't survive. Yeah, I don't know why, but every single paper, they gotta kill all the fish to weigh them. You know? I don't know what it is. But they have to kill the fish to weigh the fish. Ah! Now, I guess since we've read the papers, I'm trying to decide at what point these pistol fry are big enough to where I should separate them in the mom, or how lazy I want to be. I just want to leave them together. Shelby said, good to hear. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's been really fun. So I reached out to Pisces, asking them to donate a few things to the ASEM, our first auction coming up. So it's been really interesting being a president of the club. I guess technically I'm the president of the club. And I'm really excited because I feel like we are doing some cool things with our club, like the fish trivia nights and focusing on less talks and things like that, and more like doing things like the trivia and like some games and hands-on things. And I don't know, I feel very encouraged. I feel like people are really enjoying it, and you know, I've gotten in here, and I don't think I'm the best president ever, but the club's been around for a few years, and they were never incorporated. They have a bank account. We've at least gotten to the point we have a bank account. Now we have an actual membership program, and we got some members and stuff, and membership cards. I'm making the metal membership cards. So I don't know. I'm excited, and I've been buying up books. So eventually we'll be able to roll out the member library, which I've been talking about a lot, but like I'm close to being able to do that, where the members of the club, we have a list of books that the club has in stores, and then if you're a member, you can check out books, like an actual library. So some of those super expensive to import, you know, plant books, for example, I think it'd be easier for a club to get that than an individual, whether we purchase it or it's donated, because those books are relatively commonly donated. So I'm excited about that. That's one of the things I'm most excited about, is the library thing, and then just storing like all the magazines and stuff like that. Darian said, at least you have a club. You don't have a club over in the UK? Shelby said, don't need to be perfect. It's just amazing you're doing the work. Clubs are so worth it just for connections and everything. 100%. And what got me involved in this club the most was, I go to a lot of clubs in my area, but, you know, I have my kind of group of friends or whatever, and I was trying to figure out the best way to put all my efforts and time into something to be productive. And it really recently I've found that, oh shit, like this club, all the people I like the most go to, all my friends like the most go to it. I'm getting the most reward when I put my efforts into it, instead of like driving every week into a billion clubs. And yeah, it's been really nice. So hey, if you're looking for people to get into with fish stuff, I say, hey, you can do the YouTube stream chat thing. Find a Discord. Find some people in these online communities that are relatively around you. Start a fish club, man. Because if you're someone that exists in that area that has that desire, you can't be the only one. So my whole philosophy, and what I do with the YouTube channel and what I do with the fish clubs is, hey, I feel this way, I want these things, and I'm going to trust that if I just provide the space for the things that I think that I would enjoy, then the people like me will also enjoy them. So we go on stream and we read research papers, which are let's be honest, pretty boring, but it's something that I would enjoy. I want to do. So I'm going to get on here and do it and just trust that there are people out there that also enjoy that. Shelby said, the library idea is cool. I collect the books and magazines. If you're able to do the Bluegrass Bash in June is a perfect place for books and magazines. I've heard a lot of people talk about the Bluegrass Bash. It does sound like it's going to be a good time. The library thing is something that I've been really wanting to do. So I got someone to agree to be the librarian. So we're just working on like the process for lending the books and the storage for them. And I think we'll be good to do that. Because the books and the magazines, they show up in club auctions a lot. And I feel like what happens is, you know, people either buy them at the club auctions or they, you know, collect them over time. And then it comes a time where they want to, you know, rehome them. But what I would love is if there was clubs that just kept a library of these things and then lent them out to members. And then the whole key to this is I don't want to be president forever. I don't want to be president at all, really. But the whole point is to build a self-sustaining system, right? So an individual, it's hard for that individual to hold on to all these books forever. But an entity, in this case a nonprofit, you know, you can establish a system to maintain a catalog or collection of books, and then members of that institution will be able to enjoy them forever, as opposed to someone who's just like, I got all these books and now I got to get rid of them, I'm moving, or unfortunately I passed away, and you know. So Shelby said, oh no, I read that already. JP said, hardest working fish cream, killing it. We're doing good. We're doing good. Someone said, a nice episto. That's Epistogramma Hongsloi. Epistogramma Hongsloi I got from Big Steve, who was in the chat earlier. And I have some panda cories in there. Some of them are longfin. My eventual thing is I want to create a longfin panda cory that is like just enough longfin to be cool, but not have some of the gross things that some of the longfin cories have. So some of the longfin panda cories, when they breed, like the little nodules on the cory head, like they also are elongated and it looks kind of freaky. Or it has that typical longfin thing where they're prone to getting ratty and stuff like that. So I got over 20 panda cories in this 20 long here, and this is the first tank I ever put CO2 on recently, which yeah, I guess I can kind of tell. The plants do grow faster. I did buy a splitter, so I'll be adding CO2 to this tank here, which is the primarily the Galaxy Auto tank. At one point, it was the tank I was trying to be my first tank I like aquascaped, quote unquote. So that's why I have on the left, I'm doing this carpet of Limophila aromatica. But then it took priority because I'm trying to breed the Galaxy Autos. So I do have a German breeding ring, the SVC 3D print designed it in there to hatch eggs and stuff like that. But I still think it kind of looks nice. But it's just the autos in this tank for now. Come on, the breeding comes first, you know? The breeding comes first. Okay. I am sadly considering breaking down the 28-gallon low boys and replacing them with 40-gallon breeders. I do like the low boys, but there's some stuff I'd like to do in the 40-gallon breeders. Holy. Do you guys like this meta, like the angle of me from the side, and I got the little square of myself? Oh man. I'll be honest though, I'm gonna like eventually, I'm trying to like get into like scaping and stuff like that. But when I do, like, I'm gonna make the Limnophila aromatica like my signature plant, because I just think it looks so nice. It just grows so dense, It grows so dense, and I think it looks nice as a little carpet, you know, when you don't have a bunch of algae in between everything. A couple fish said Hipperoides is nicer. Hippuroidesis. Oh. Forget the IS on that. He meant to say that it was nicer. Let me look up that plant and see what it looks like. We got the plant snob in the chat. A couple fish. What's up with this guy? Okay, so this is... Now this is interesting. When you look up Hipperoides, Limophylla aromatica is also coming up in some of these. It looks relatively similar to me, but it looks like it's another Limophylla. Although there is I'm seeing something that says Myrophyllum Hipperoides, so I don't know what to believe anymore. But that, I mean, that's very nice too. I can rock with that. Aromatica is smaller and less leaves per whorl. Okay. I'll make sure to check. Make sure to double check that. Yo, let's check out the PVAS all day auction. I'm not gonna go through every single thing. I'm just gonna real quickly check it before I jump out of here. But I want to see what it's looking like. Oh, by the way, Shelby, if you're still in the chat, I don't know if you're still in the chat or not, but if you are, I usually do little streams with different people, and we'll just talk about whatever's on their mind and do a short little interview. I'd love to have you on to talk about aquascaping or whatever else is on the top of your head at the moment, because the interesting thing about doing YouTube and then also trying to get into TikTok stuff is you see different things at different places. So like, I know Shelby from Garden and Eater and whatnot, but when I'm on TikTok, I see like more of the aquascaping stuff and things like that. So it's kind of funny how you see the same people on different platforms, but the content is like kind of different. So I'm trying to do my best to actually have interesting streams and get some guests on again. So let me know if you'd be interested. Jacob said, if anyone likes plants, check out Fauna of the Orinoco book from Ivan Mikolji. There's someone I'm following hard right now. Dude is like the next Heiko Bleher. Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about. Darian said, I have his book. He have Creation Descent. Okay. First of all, Jacob said he's like the next Heiko Bleher. Okay, so let me see who Heiko Bleher was. So, you don't know who Heiko is? No, I don't know. No, I don't know who I don't know who this random person is. October 1944 to August 2025. Heiko Bleher is a German researcher, author, photographer, and filmmaker, best known in the scientific community for his contribution to the exploration of fresh and brackish water habitats. Okay. Darian said Heiko is European Amano. That's funny. A lot of fish have the Blacherium name. Okay, I have to... Once you like know these things, you start to like you notice them, but if you don't know, then you don't know. Okay, and then Jacob said he's following Ivan Mikolji, and that looks like he's a world-renowned underwater photographer, it looks like. Okay. Good things to know. Good things to know and to keep in mind. Yeah. Look at him. Posted up underwater with all the fish. It's gotta be one of the most nerdy pictures of all time you could possibly take. I gotta respect it. You got the posted up hand over fist pose underwater on the bottom of the... You got the benthic pose here. Fish all around. And the goggles. The goggles really tie everything up. You know, Oliver Oliver, I think I know who you're talking about with Oliver. Yes. The people that I know that post photos of fish are whoever does it significantly on Facebook, because the Facebook algorithm is superior to any other social media platform as far as showing me fish content that's relevant to me. So YouTube is slop. I'll be honest. And you can include me in this. The fish content game on YouTube is depressing. Okay, the fish hobby content on YouTube is meager, it's minuscule, and it's unentertaining. Okay, and you go to the fish content on TikTok. There's some interesting stuff there. It's very commercial, a lot of it, and you got to really work on the algorithm. On Facebook, though, Facebook will show you new fish discovered, great photos, scientific information, live food cultures. I don't know what it is, but the fish content on Facebook, as far as posts and stuff, is so much better than what I encounter on YouTube and TikTok, which is the other main. I would say the social media I use the most is probably Reddit, then YouTube, Facebook, because I do the club stuff and that's all like Facebook group stuff. That's pretty much it. Well, TikTok. I guess TikTok. I don't really use TikTok very much. In fact, let me live check myself. JP Jeffrey says Gen X does the work. Shut up, bro. Okay, I'm going to look at my screen time and see how much time I spent on TikTok. 1 second. On my phone. Although I'll be honest, I don't go on Facebook on my phone as much as I do on my computer. Jacob says his are Facebook, Reddit, and YouTube. So my most used is YouTube is my most used on my phone. This is for the week. Okay, yeah. For the week, YouTube's the most used on my phone, then Reddit, then Discord. Well, actually, before Discord is Kick, but that's just me watching streams. Then Discord, then Facebook, and then for the week, Smart Person said all your fish friends on TikTok was you refer, and then Darian said Blither's Biotopes best book. That does sound promising. I think Hiko Blither is father of the biotope idea. Okay, I gotta look into that. Jacob said Hiko Blither is the guy who discovered discus. That's pretty crazy. All right. I want you guys to guess. Okay, let's do some interaction here. How much time do you think that I spent this week on TikTok? Okay. I want you to guess how much time I spent on TikTok this week. I think it resets Sunday. So, yeah, it resets Sunday. So since Sunday, how much time have I spent on TikTok? What do you guys think? Yu-Gi-Oh said 3 hours. God damn. Darius said 5 hours. Bro. What kind of degenerate watching fish stuff? There's not 5 hours of TikTok content for me to watch since Sunday. No way. No. Too much time? No, bro. You guys think I was some kind of look. 23 minutes. 23 minutes. That's all the time I spent. Wait, my thing went off. Yeah, 23 minutes. That's how much time I spent on TikTok since Sunday, and most of it was yesterday. I don't really use TikTok at all. Not at all. Yurio said 1 hour and 14 minutes. Maven said 32 hours, bro. 23 minutes wasted. Wait. Yeah. 23 minutes of TikTok since Sunday. And 5 hours of YouTube, 4 hours of Reddit, 3 hours and 30 minutes of Kick, and 3 hours and 30 minutes of Discord, 41 minutes of Facebook. Now that's just this. Since Sunday is pretty skewed, my usage does vary quite a bit depending on what's going on. So I wouldn't say this is provable of anything, but I don't really use TikTok at all is the point. I'll post something and then I'll scroll on my For You page like 6 to 10 videos max on my In My Tanks account. So I only really see a few things. Like Shelby's one of the people that I'll see from the aquascaping stuff, and then I'll see like whatever Bomba posted and whatnot, and if he sent me any messages. But Jacobs, I haven't been on TikToks in like 2 years. Maybe I spent 0 as well. Fish Capesa, I spent 0. Okay. We got some superior people in the chat. I want to like watch something and like, I guess there hasn't been that much commentary happening since the last time I streamed. Jesus Christ, bro. What are these ads? Your pancreas could reset at any age. I don't even know what my pancreas is. Like, when you got the wrong demographic or whatever this ad is. I haven't been on TikTok in 2 years. It was an addiction to me. I'm just such a long form person. I only watch long form shit, like legitimately. I have a terrible time with. Darren said, "Pay premium, don't be cheap." I'm broke. Come on, bro. You know subscriptions they gotta creep. Did anyone watch the To Feed or Not to Feed stream from Mexicali? Was there anything worth watching here on stream? By the way, just as a concept, and I'll put the link in the chat. Shout out to Mexicali. When you see the title To Feed or Not to Feed, I just want to know what you guys think. Like, to feed your fish or not to feed your fish. What does that invoke in you? Darian said, I watched the Koi Partner full documentary before joining here. It's like 3.5 hours. The Koi Partner documentary. Yo, I googled the GOI Partner documentary. That did not give me what I was looking for the stream. Jesus Christ. Yo, I'm not even fine. Oh, Inside the Secret World of the $1 Million Koi Fish documentary. Is that what you're talking about? JP said, good stream. Could have been more. I'm willing to. The feeding stream could have been more instigating. Really? The title was so instigating. I thought they would be instigating. Is this what you watched? The Koi Partner. Yeah, it's 3 hours long. Yeah, this looked like a long video. Okay, I'll put the link to that in the chat. I'll have to check that out. I knew it would be about fish food. Well, what's interesting? Well, Aquafunk sells fish food, so you would think that his answer would be feed your fish. But I mean, I feel like it's kind of a what's the word for question that doesn't really beg an answer. Rhetorical question. Yeah. Anything else going on in the fish world? Probably not. Let's be real. Let's see. I'm on my incognito. Aquarium hobby. If I just search aquarium hobby in incognito YouTube, let's see what comes up. We got King of DIY. We got Prime Time from 5 years ago. We got Aquarium Co-op. Oh, you know what? Did anyone watch the Keeping Fish Simple video on breeding cories? Was that any good? Darren said, power feed when they grow and change water a lot when they grow. Low feed. Well, there you go. I'll be honest, I've been feeding my fish a lot more the last few days, and definitely the growth rate. Here's the things. When you put a small fish in a bigger tank, it grows a lot faster. When you feed it a lot more, it grows faster. It's just kind of that simple for me, thus far, at least. So I've been trying to get my fry into bigger tanks quicker to grow them faster. But even when I can't, feeding them more does make them grow faster. Darren said, yes, I watched it. It's solid content. You can use some things from him. Keeping Fish Simple is my aquarium content goat. I'm not saying I want to make things like him exactly, because I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I feel like. But I think he's the best bigger fish keeping channel. I think he's the best. To me, at least. How does he say to breed corridors?
To the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be breeding corridors. That's how you 50 to 55%.
Ah! Bug buffet, huh? Man, I wish I had a fish food. How to breed fish. Feed them my fucking food. Problem solved. Darian said I'm a bit older, so I watch older careers. What careers do you watch? I'll say my most watched, well, what I've said many times, and which is true, I do not watch very much. I would say fish content is less than 10. It's probably 10% of what I watch on YouTube. Sometimes I watch some live streams. I'll watch Keeping Fish Simple. I'll watch Fishery. And sometimes Mexicali will do a stream and I'll watch that. That's basically all I watch on YouTube regarding fish regularly. Unless, of course, someone sends me something specifically. I guess Lowell's Fish Labs, if he posts something that's a topic I'm interested in, I'll watch that. Darren said 70% of them closed channels 5+ years ago. Goddamn. Okay, so how to breed corridors, feed them my food.
Is going to really help to get them in condition, but especially those frozen.
Now, I will say, I went to a talk from Mitchell Broom on catfish, and he did talk about the importance, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, of certain types of protein when it comes to corridors. Jacob said, Fishery is my favorite stream besides this one. Okay, I appreciate that. Yay, being up with Fishery, that's good company.
Frozen food.
I've been trying to get Fishery to do another stream with me. So, if you guys didn't know, did you guys know I did a stream with Fishery? Let me know in the chat if you knew that or not. But I did a stream with Fishery. Look, it has 2.4 thousand views. Oh my gosh, we gone viral. Okay, I did a stream with Fishery. And I was supposed to do a stream on his channel, and then he would do a stream on my channel. Jacob said that's how I discovered your page. There you go. JB Jeffrey said you did. So I've been trying to do another stream with him, but it just hasn't worked out yet. I did talk to him recently. He said he wants to do a stream, so hopefully we do another stream sometime soon. But yeah, we talked about aquatic isopods. It was a good time. It was a good time, man. Fishery is one of the people that definitely got me into the hobby, so I'll always have to respect him. And then I do the reading research papers and live streams. He doesn't necessarily do that on his live streams all the time, but he's a more scientifically super nerdy oriented fish stream. So definitely I kind of get some inspiration for that for sure. Or at least I already was into that kind of thing, and he was one of the few fish keeping channels that was on that vibe, you know. So hopefully I'll do another stream with him soon. JP Jeffrey says, hope scuds don't come up again. There's one tank I have that has scuds in it, and it's the hospice tank. There's a 5-gallon tank where if a fish is sick, I put it in that tank. And that's the one tank where there are scuds in my fish room. I didn't plan that intentionally, just somehow somehow that's how. I tried to think back to when I bought scuds intentionally, and then how they ended up being in this tank. It must have been a very convoluted path, because I don't remember putting scuds in this tank on purpose. I think it goes like this. I think I bought scuds, I had them. I put them in a tank that had nothing else in it but scuds and floating plants, and then I think a floating plant or something. Anyways, there's one tank in my entire fish room that I'm aware of that has scuds in it. It's a 5-gallon tank, and that's the tank that I have my hospice operations running out of. And it's good because the scuds probably, if a fish happens to die in there, then... But what I'm discovering, though, I paid money for them. Yes, I did at one point buy scuds intentionally. This was before the aquatic isopods. What I'm discovering, though, is that I'm putting fish in the hospice tank and they're not dying. Some of them actually get better. So, and this is like a pretty neglected tank on the grand scale of things in my fish room. Like, this is not a highly water change tank because I'm scared of changing water in it because I don't want to affect the rest of my tanks through the tube, the siphon. So yeah, there's some fish, like I said, there was a fish that had dropsy. I took it out of that tank. I put it in the hospice tank. Within 24 hours, its dropsy was reversed. And I have repeated that twice now. There's now 2 fish that had dropsy. And then I put it into this hospice tank. And the dropsy was reversed. So when I think about why that might be, there's a lot of options. So one option, Darian said, which autos are those? So these are Paraotocinchus heroldi, and the common name is the Galaxy Autos. And they're one, you know, I want to breed every fish that I have. This is one of my most serious breeding projects, autos, in the sense that I'm dedicating a tank to them. I think that they're not going to be hard to breed, honestly. I think with them, from what I've researched, they live a long time. So I think you just got to get them to maturity. Now that I've had them a while and some of them have gotten to a certain size, they're starting to exhibit behaviors similar to plecos to me, where they're kind of picking like a overhang or like a cave-like crevice location, and you know how plecos kind of pick a cave and they kind of hang out and wave their tails. So I think as I get enough of them and I keep them and I grow them, when they reach sexual maturity, I think they're going to be easy to breed. They're going to be kind of like plecos. That's my theory right now. Seiji said, fish here thrive on high nitrate and ammonia levels. What's up, Sonny? How's it going? Darren said, how you breed autos? I don't know. I haven't done it. Although my friend Bamba, he spread the bumblebee autos in his high-tech CO2 tanks. Anyways. Yeah, so dropsy... trying to find where dropsy osmologic pressure. So there's a couple things with dropsy that's kind of interesting. Again, it's not a disease, right? It's a symptom, and it's related to the osmoregulation system. So when I think about fish where they have dropsy in one tank and I move them to another tank and the dropsy is reversed, and this has happened twice, then what I'm thinking of is something related to whatever variable affects osmoregulation. Because for it to reverse so fast, like, it can't just be something like, my mind would go to, oh, maybe this hospice tank, since I put sick fish into it, it's got a very competitive microbiome. So whatever terrible bacteria that might be causing an infection or whatever that is inducing kidney failure in my fish and whatnot, that might be reversing it. Jacob said, I just had to cull a fish with dropsy, started pine coning. And then Jacob said, more salinity in that tank. Maybe. I got to figure it out. I think I do have something weird in my tap water, because I basically, every now and then, there's a fish that gets some kind of weird dropsy bacterial infection type thing. And it's mostly regulated to 1 or 2 tanks, but it seems to be something that's just system-wide for me. And I think there's something weird in my tap water. So I want to get a sediment filter and a carbon filter or whatever, so I don't have to use dechlorinators. And then once I eliminate that variable, I'll be able to figure out if there's something else going on. Jacob said, more salinity in that tank, pulling excess moisture out of the fish. Maybe, perhaps, but I don't know. Okay, guys, look. I've been yapping for a long time. It's 3 hours and 30 minutes. Hey, we've been putting in here. I just want to say, I really appreciate you guys. The streams have been doing well. Sunny G said Epsom salt dip can work too for dropsy. I've put Epsom salt in a tank with a fish with dropsy. I haven't tried a dip yet, but I might try it. The Nikki Sweepy. I am getting sleepy. The streams have been going well. The channel's been going well. I really appreciate you guys. It's been a good time. I think that we're kind of doing our own thing. We're kind of doing something a little bit different. Is it fair to say, I'm not downplaying any other streams, but is it fair to say there ain't no fish stream like this? Come on. I know we joke around, we say hardest working fish stream, but like, we got something special going on here. Seriously. I appreciate you guys a lot for that, because in my opinion, the people watching us, and no offense to the replay crew, because you're critical as well, but the people live, you guys much to do with the work behind the stream as I do, because I'll be live streaming here for however long, but you guys are also in the chat for the same amount of time, so it is kind of a teamwork thing going on. We play around here. Nick the Man, Sunny G said, Jacob said hardest working. So no, we be hardest working, but like, we're punching way above our weight when it comes to subscribers, when it comes to viewers. When we do the research streams, not as many people necessarily watch live, and that's fine, because this is something that I like to watch. But people are starting to watch the replays quite a lot. So it doesn't really matter as much with the live stream stuff, because like I said, there are channels with 30,000 subscribers that get less views on the replays of the live streams than us, which I know I have a relatively small channel. I don't get a lot of views on anything, but there's many channels with a decent amount of subscribers that don't get 500 views on a live stream replay, 300 views on a live stream replay. And we've been doing well. So Yuri said it's good. You're doing a great job. Appreciate you. Couple fish with the blushing shrimp emoji spam. Appreciate you. Maven said can't keep it going with the dead audience. Now hold on. I can keep it yapping with the dead audience. Don't challenge me. JP said totally underrated. No, we're doing our thing. I need to pick it up a little bit as far as the videos go, but I consider the videos on the channel and the live streams on the channel pretty different. I'm the same person in both places, but I don't try and merge those audiences at all. So, we kind of do our own thing, but it is very much influenced by you guys. The live stream is. So if you ever have any feedback, any suggestions or comments, whether live or whether if you're one of the replay crew people, please let me know. I always appreciate it on the live streams. I do generally pay a good amount of attention to that. So yeah, we'll keep it rocking. I have some good streams coming up. Jesse said there's always lurkers, always people listed. I appreciate you, Jesse. I appreciate it. Maven said do it a 4-hour monologue. No, I can monologue on anything. Honestly, you guys just don't know how to trigger me well enough. Some people know how to troll me in the chat and get me on a rant. Like, there's been a couple times where people got me on a rant on purpose because they know how to trigger me. And Jesse, shout out to you. I know you'd be lurking. But that's part of my point. There are people, I think, unusual compared to streams of any genre. Like, there's a decent amount of people now that they watch the 3-hour replay after the fact, which is very, what's the word? Flattering to me. It's flattering to me when I do a live stream for 3.5 hours and then like 300 people watch that after it already happened. Jesse said, been giving me something to listen to while spending time with the baby while the lady sleeps. I appreciate that. See, that's special to me. So that's why I like doing longer live streams, because that's what I consume and what I like. I like longer live streams I can listen to, get all my work done, and that's what I'm hoping I do for you. JP Jeffrey says you do the longest ramble while signing off. That's hilarious. Mavis said, I'm not trolling, I'm just being helpful. That's good. Yeah, no, I love when you guys trigger me and get me to rant about something for a long period of time. I do. I very much do. Hey, what's up? Jacob with the $5 super chat said, we appreciate you. Aw. It's very, very sweet of you. I appreciate that. W Jacob in the chat, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jacob. Struggling college student. Hoping to save his local environment. Giving me $5. I very much appreciate that. Maven said, I do too. That's why I go so long. Love it. And JP said, W Jacob. Yeah, W Jacob. I very much appreciate that. Thank you for the 5. We'll see what I do with the videos and stuff, but I'm always contemplating putting more time and effort into the channel. And one of the weird things about making content is, to some degree, money always gets involved with the consideration. And for me, all I'll say is that I don't ever want to be on here and like encourage people to donate and stuff, because I just don't think that's my vibe. But if you do happen to donate, if you do happen to become a member, just know I do really appreciate it. It does help me invest more time into the channel, or do things like I used money from the YouTube channel to sponsor Mitchell Broom's talk at the Keystone Clash, you know. So I'll always try and actually make sure that money goes towards something that is useful. People have donated stuff in the past for like specific things, like Temperate donated so I could spend money on Galaris and things like that. So I really appreciate you guys. Okay, there's one more thing I want to say. W Jacob. Just one more fish, by the way. Hardest working. JP said hardest working fish stream, hands down. Appreciate you. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? Jacob said no one wants to spend all their time doing something that doesn't help secure their financial situation. That's a good way of putting it. That's a very good way of putting it. Hey, we all have things that we like to do with talents that we have. The talent that I have is yapping. So, if I can use that talent and get a financial gain out of it, that makes sense to me. I feel like I've reached the point where I'm starting to know the things I'm good at and the things I'm bad at. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you one of the very few things I've consistently been good at is just fucking talking and talking and talking. So, makes sense to me. Okay, just so you guys know, coming up, we got a trivia stream just off of whatever I feel like making trivia questions on related to fish. We have a trivia stream based on rice fish coming up, which Captain made some difficult quizzes on rice fish. That's coming up, so that'll be me and Captain, so you can keep that on your mind. Then there's a couple of guests things that I'm trying to work on, but scheduling's always a little bit difficult. And then hopefully sometime soon I'm going to go out and look for isopods, and I'm hoping to kind of live stream me searching for them. So hopefully we do that too. But if not, we'll come up with something else. We have one or two higher things to get to that I didn't do. We have another wave maker to get to. And then I'd like to do a live stream that's just kind of like talking about breeding stuff and different projects around the fish room. Maybe said, exactly, Jacob. The saying, time is money, is there for a reason. There you go. All right. Anyone, any last question, comments, or concerns before I get off stream? It's been a good, chill stream. I appreciate you guys, but I'm going to hit the hay. Hopefully be here soon. I'm definitely going to be here. Let me think. I'm not going to say. You're just going to have to find out. Probably I'll want to do an auction review for the PVAS all day auction. So Saturday night, maybe. But it depends on where I'm at because I might have something going on. The weekends recently have been busy for me. So it's been harder for me to stream on them. But I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. Please let me know in the comments or live any kind of live streams you're looking for, topics or whatnot. I'll be happy to look into them if I'm also interested in them. Sometimes I'm not. And I appreciate you guys don't take it personally when I'm not. Like, for instance, Scotty, he wants me to do a live stream about killifish every single day. I can't do that. I fall asleep on the stream. You know, I can't. It's got to be something different, you know. But guys, switch it up. So please let me know if you have any ideas. All right, I'm rambling too much. I got to get off. JP is going to roast me saying I got the longest rambles until I get off stream. But it's been a good time. I appreciate you guys. Shout out to Nitrates. Shout out to Jacob holding it down that chat. Darian, Dejan, been holding it down that chat. A newer name. Really appreciate you and all your thoughts that you've been putting in there. It's been a good time. Another person from the UK hanging out around. Mick, where you at, Mick? Cheryl, shout out to you stopping by. Cam Jam, Moneyless Maven, Yuyo. He's really outraged they slaughter the fish, but they slaughter the fish every time, be honest. Couple fish. Appreciate you, my favorite plant snob, holding it down the chat. I already said Jacob, I think, but Jacob, of course, holding it down the chat. OG, thank you for the 5. Very much appreciated. Sutton Road Aquatics, stopping by. Appreciate you as well. Smart person, being smart in the chat as usual. Appreciate you for coming by. George, Savage, Cichlids, Cam Jam, thank you, man. I think I said that already, but you know, Shelby K, appreciate you stopping by in the chat. Let me show you down to come on stream sometime. I think I asked that. I always ask that too late. Fishcapades, appreciate you coming by, holding it down in the chat. Jacob says Scotty just wants all the attention. He's way too demanding. I'm not gonna lie. Demanding. Jacob said, have a great night. Appreciate you. Darian said, I'm from Croatia, not the UK. Okay, I appreciate the correction. For anyone that needs to know, I'm looking up Croatia right now so we can all see where it's at. Okay, not the UK. Very clearly, not the UK. Hey, Just One More Fish in the chat said W stream. Shout out Just One More Fish. I appreciate you holding it down in the chat and everywhere else as usual. That's my guy. Appreciate you. Jesse is the realest out of all the people I've met through doing fish hobby related stuff. Jesse has been the most consistent and realist person. And just to end the stream on a little bit of a rant, you know, I've definitely done a lot the last 2 years when it comes to club meetings, when it comes to YouTube stuff. And it can burn you out being like super social. And I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, but I've been keeping it super social. And sometimes shit happens where you're just like, I do not want to fucking talk to anyone ever again because it's always some kind of issue. But Jesse has been very consistent, kept it 100. I appreciate someone that is just who they are and real. So shout out to Just One More Fish. Darian said, yeah, Robert Herjavec country. Because Just One More Fish said that's where Robert from Shark Tank is from. Yeah. So appreciate you guys. Here's a Shark Tank guy. And this has been In My Tanks. I'm going to sleep. And I am absolutely 100% out.